Aloha and welcome, shifters, light guardians, dreamers, and lovers. This is Brendon, aka Wolf Shield, Mystic Spider-Man, Skull Babylon, welcoming you to another live inspirational educational broadcast presented on behalf of Paradigm Shift Central, a global interactive project to be able to help assist with the shift in consciousness by building an amazing global team of conscious creators and leaders. And hey, if you are tuned into this, then you are a part of that team. You are part of that bigger story. You are part of the shift. So thank you so much for being here for our special Synergy Circle for January 19th 2020. Still getting used to saying that. And we are here once again with fellow leading members to be able to have some conversation, to share updates, to document the stories of how we are helping assist with the shift in consciousness, and to practice having conversations, to support each other as leaders, to grow as a team, and to be able to again document the story, document the tales from one week to the next. What are we going through? What are we learning? What can we bring to this circle, to this roundtable once again? For those of you who are tuned into this on either Facebook or YouTube or anywhere that you happen to be tuned in, drop those 1111s in the chat to confirm that you can hear me okay, and your feedback in the chat is super appreciated. And again, for those of you who may be entirely brand new to this, stand by, we'll explain it all in a second. But for those of you who are here now, my fellow leading members, please feel free to gently unmute your microphones and make some noise and send some love to all the people who are tuned into this broadcast. So go ahead, send out them wolf noises and howls and weird animal fairy noises. Were you, Lise, were you doing the, was that you doing were you doing some throat?
Yeah.
some like what is it, Mongolian throat singing? Yeah. Awesome. There we go. We are all a didgeridoo here. All right. Thank you again, fellow leading members. Again, my name is Brendon, and I am joined tonight by the amazing Lilly Love, the courageous Kris, and the magical Lise Mitchell Nobile. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. And if this is your first time here, you'll get a chance to be able to meet the fellow leading members on tonight's broadcast. We do this every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for those of you who are looking to be able to join in. And seriously, like, you're invited to make this a part of your story, to make this a part of your routine, where you tune into these broadcasts and you learn a little bit about the ways in which the consciousness is continuing to unfold. And again, within this project, for those of you who are entirely unfamiliar and perhaps brand new, welcome. Be sure to check out ParadigmShiftCentral.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Mystic Spider-Man and Paradigm Shift Central for our team page as well. You can join and be involved with this community on deeper levels by being involved as a leading member when you sign up to the Patreon at the $11 level. And of course, when you sign up onto the Patreon at the $11 level, you can get beautiful things such as the Lumerian Light Guardian crystals. So check that out at patreon.com/Brendon Culleton. And you can also get access to me as your private conscious media creation coach, all the perks of being a leading member, the ability to join these on-air broadcasts, and lots more value that we're still creating for the community in the future. So thank you again to our Patreon supporters who help make this possible. Your support in every single amount is equally appreciated. So thank you, Patreon supporters. So by the time of this broadcast, if you're just like, yo, this is pretty cool, this is different, feel free to stick around. Feel free to sign up to the Patreon. Feel free to join our team chat and get involved and message me if you have any questions. So with the intention of this circle, we're just going to get right into it. I really want to be able to like invite people to just like drop into their heart right now as we get ready to begin this circle, and to remind ourselves of the intention of showing up here. The intention of showing up here is to be able to celebrate our shared journey, is to be able to support each other as leaders within the shift in consciousness, is to be able to share our stories, is to be able to share our wisdom, to share our insight. And through this, through the merging of the many circles, new seeds are created, new experiences are born, new wisdom is brought forth. So let us practice being in this space as a conduit for consciousness, so that spirit, universe, soul, the shift, so that it can speak through us, so that we can practice showing up again as messengers, shifters, light guardians. So just to take everybody here, I invite you to just go ahead and just take a couple breaths here. Gentle inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, nice and slow. Just take a few more breaths here. Just being in this space of gratitude. and inviting yourself to be in your space of power, in your space of vigilance, reminding yourself of perhaps a moment when you felt at your strongest, you felt your most inspired, you felt your most creative. If there's a particular moment, just bringing yourself to that moment, bringing yourself to that feeling, even just imagining yourself, maybe if it's relative to you, like being up on stage and performing in front of an audience. And at the same time, it may be scary. It also evokes something inside of you that reminds you and tells you that, yes, you got this, you can do this. And so whether that's something you have experienced or whether that's an experience that you can invite into this scenario, I invite you to feel the power that is already inside of you. And then as you hold this power, imagine it spinning, rotating forward like a wheel, cultivating momentum, moving the gears inside of you, generating the flames that beat the heart of your drum. And as we feel this feeling, let us invite ourselves to feel this feeling at any moment, at any time, at any obstacle that we may face. Remind yourself of this power that's inside of us, of the strength of the spirit to persevere, to be resilient. So take a couple more breaths here. Just give yourself permission to feel this space. Encode it into your body. And if you want to right now, I invite you to gently just take your digit finger or your middle finger or both, and just gently just kind of like tap your third eye. And as you're tapping your third eye right now, I literally just want you to like let that symbolically just be like a way for you to be able to say like, I give my body permission to feel this at any moment I wish. And when you're done that, just gently bring your hand to your heart. And anytime you may feel as if you're like in doubt, you're kind of like going through a little circumstance that might be a little challenging, imagine that little sensation of what it's like to touch your forehead, right where your third eye is. And then let that be kind of like a symbol that reminds you of this power and the feeling of this power and the permission you have given yourself to feel this power at any moment. And that power is always inside of you. Take 2 more breaths here at your own pace. And then 1 more breath when you wish. Just take your time, however many breaths you need. When you're ready, gently open your eyes, return your awareness to the space around you, and continue to carry this feeling with you throughout the entire duration of this broadcast if you choose. Beautiful. Awesome. So there, just a little kind of like self like meditation, hypnosis, calibration practice there as we get ready to roll into this broadcast. And again, the intention of this broadcast, the reason why I created this project is because this is me doing what I can to be able to answer the call of what is needed. And what is needed is for us as members of community to be able to come together, to support each other, to remind ourselves of our strength, to remind ourselves of our courage, to inspire us to step up on stage, to invite us to be able to share the unique magic of our gifts that are here to change the world. So every person who's tuned into this broadcast, each and every single one of you has a very, very important part to play with in this story, has very unique gifts to be able to share. Maybe you're still discovering those gifts. Maybe you're ready to share them. Maybe you want to get right involved with this project and join next week and be a leading member. Whatever the case, let this story, let this broadcast be a way to inspire you by us celebrating and sharing our gifts. The intention is to invite you to be able to see the gifts within yourself and encourage you to share those. And so within today's broadcast, we're going to go around the circle. We're going to share a little bit of updates just kind of on like, hey, you know, like here's kind of like an update on things I'm working on to be able to help assist with the shift in terms of conscious media creation. And also what we're going to be doing as a team, I want to be able to invite us to get into a very powerful conversation, a conversation about how to cultivate resilience And kind of similar, like literally just what we did to begin this broadcast was actually kind of like a taste, kind of like a sample of one little thing that we can do. But again, I want to be able to acknowledge the fact that life will challenge us. We do not get through life without it challenging us. And therefore, what can we do to be able to be ready for those challenges when they arise? Will we just like kind of be like, oh no, like red alerts? Or can we go back to a method? Can we go back to a routine? Can we go back to a practice that will remind us of our ability to be able to be like, oh, I know what I can do. There's little things here and there, and that's where, again, we'll share a little bit throughout this broadcast. And for anybody in the chat, I'd love to be able to have you be a part of this conversation, and we'll share a little bit of perhaps personal experience, but also general insight to be able to help assist the people listening. And again, through this broadcast, may it continue to inspire you to be a shifter, someone who is intentionally assisting with the shift in consciousness through creativity and compassion, to be a light guardian, and to remind you of the light, the infinite strength of the light that you carry inside of you. So from one captain to another, I see you. So with that said, we're gonna go around the circle. Team, how quick check in. How are you guys feeling? Just kind of like that little kind of like meditation that we did. Anybody just kind of like jump in on the mic real quick? Just quick feedback. How was that for you? Did like
amazing.
Was that a thing? Did it work?
Yes, I had to blink my eyes to come back.
Cool. And Kris, how was that for you?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, like, you know, it really helped to, you know, center and focus the intention, you know, like towards the broadcast and everything. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. And Lise, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, just again, centered and bringing the central nervous system into like chill.
Yes, giving our body permission to chill and again, be present. So cool. Okay, so with that said, I'm gonna go through and just share some very simple updates within the project. So this month, my priority, for those of you who have tuned into past broadcasts, you've heard me talk about this. My priority is to be able to take care of the goals within the Patreon while still managing things on the back end. And again, the Patreon is something that I'm working on reaching above 200 and beyond for 2020 to be able to get me into that, which is like a huge thing I'm earning to be able to move me into this next stage of my life where I'm like, I'm manifesting an apartment for myself, and that apartment's gonna be like a production studio, and that studio is gonna help me create more and really get into my zone and really just allow me to like open up into more of like my own like sovereignty and everything. So that's something where I'm like literally just like, all right, time to step up to this. And that in itself was part of the motivation for even the topic of this broadcast, where it's just kind of like right now I'm at a point where the universe is calling forth the best version of myself. This is non-negotiable. In order for me to be able to achieve these dreams, like I have to show up as the best version of myself. And so that invitation is like this spark of motivation where, again, it's just like right now I'm in this part of my life where, you know, certain things are shifting around, but it's also kind of like giving me the freedom to be able to like focus my energy towards very particular things, such as this project, and such as taking care of myself. And that for me within this past week has been a big part of the work, has been a part of being able to like listen to what I need, to being able to embrace challenges as they came into my life, and to be able to see them from, again, that choice of choosing to see it from an empowering perspective, to be able to think like, okay, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. Yeah, there may be things about it that might be uncomfortable, but this is still a good thing. And can I drop myself into a deeper place of trust as well? And to, again, be able to like begin investing in myself, and to be able to start like, you know, learning new techniques and new tactics that I can incorporate into my daily routine, that again is just going to help build momentum, build resilience, and also allow me to show up with a strong, authentic presence. And even just in the beginning of this broadcast, I hope that in just me just kind of like beginning this broadcast in the way I did, I hope that in itself conveys where, you know, like maybe just from one broadcast to the last one, I invite you to just be able to be like, oh yeah, like I can see Brendon shifting. Like I can see him changing. Like I can see, like I physically feel stronger. I feel more healthy. Like I feel like, again, I'm just kind of like refining myself to be the best version of myself, because the inner work is the outer work. And so if I'm like trying to manifest an apartment and achieve my Patreon goals and get into this next stage of the project for the team, it's all me. Like it's all me, and it all begins like inside. And this is where we'll talk about later how it begins again with like how I go to sleep, how I wake up, how I journal, and things like that. So we'll talk more about that. in general, in terms of what to be able to expect from this project in the coming weeks, a big part of this project, again, is being able to use the Paradigm Shift Central platform as a channel to be able to allow leading members to broadcast their content, to share their story. So over these next coming weeks, as I mitigate time with the other work that I'm doing, for the leading members, kind of speaking here, but for anybody listening to this, there's going to be some nice refinements on the website. I'm going to simplify things. We're really going to kind of streamline it, and we're going to be getting into the habit of allowing people to like publish content through the main website, which again kind of becomes this like collective journal of what we refer to as shift entries, where it's like a shared feed. It's our own social media network, and this already exists, but again, our focus has just been on other parts, and now we're going to kind of like bring it back to that, where again, it will be a place for leading members to be able to say like, yo, here's a really cool new video that I have to release, here's a new song that I have to release, here's an article that I wrote, here's like a really cool reflective journey that I've experienced. It could even be like a dream log or something like that. Just a quick nugget for this broadcast. I want to be able to talk about dreams this broadcast. I want to be able to talk about my motivation to be able to start focusing more towards lucid dreaming, and how that in itself is actually calling me into like more place of accountability. And again, because like if you're going to be practicing lucid dreaming, there's willpower and discipline that is required from that. So that's something where it's like, oh, you want to get refined, go ahead and like, again, like focus on doing something like lucid dreaming, and it will build like practices that again kind of like are required, that in themselves demand willpower and demand changing habits and demand shifting routines. So that's what I'm working on right now, and again, that's going to be upgrades that you'll see within the project in the coming weeks, and they're going to kind of filter themselves into the presence through Instagram. The Instagram team page has really been on hold as I've been focusing on the Instagram. So as we kind of like begin tailoring the website publication, that's going to go hand in hand with the Instagram page. And again, the Instagram page is where we're featuring a variety of artists, and that's going to be like, again, just something where it's going to be able to help connect people with other artists within the community to develop authentic relations. And yeah, other than that, there's a few other videos that I'll be working on in the background, but yeah, I'm quite content with, again, my just like not putting too much on my plate, really focusing on where I need to, and really just doing my best to show up in the best way I can, feeling the feels I gotta feel, but keeping my vision on my goals ahead. And again, seeing this as an invitation for me to be able to like earn something, and therefore it must be earned. So that's a quick update for me. And again, I hope like me just kind of sharing a little bit about like where I'm at in my journey inspires other people to just be like, if Brendon can do it, we can do it type thing. Because again, as this project, it's a mirror of me. It's a reflection of me. If I were to show up to this broadcast and be like, hey guys, welcome to the Paradigm shifted to shifty times. If you tune in, that's cool. If not, I don't care. Whatever, would sign up to my Patreon maybe. Like, right? Like, no one's gonna want that. Maybe some people do. But again, like that's where like for me, it's like I really have to be able to again like understand that this project becomes a hologram of myself, and I want the best for this project. I want the best for the team. Therefore, it calls me into being the best of myself, and that's something I've always put my heart into, and it's something that again just right now I'm really just being like vocal about being able to share, and again for us as a team to be able to hold each other accountable and hold each other into that space of rising into our power together. So that's where I'm at. Thank you again, everyone, for being here, for holding space, and we'll pass the talk and stick around. And for those of you on Instagram, click the link in my bio to tune in on YouTube, and we'll be shutting the Instagram feed off in a second. For those of you on Facebook, you can jump over to YouTube if you wish, youtube.com/SkullBabylon, or go to my profile and share it there and click the link in the info as well. And yeah, other than that, please feel free to keep those comments rolling down in the chat. How do you cultivate resilience? We'll get into that discussion as we go through the initial introduction. So with that said, we'll pass it over to whichever leading member would like to be able to go first, and we'll pass the talking stick over to them at the round table. So anybody just give me a quick little spirit finger to let me know who wants to go first. You're all just so gosh darn polite. I swear. We could sit here all day. Lise, Kris, Lise, you're the one who's gonna stay up all night. So I mean, you're in
okay.
GMT.
I was gonna like point that way because everyone's to the right of me. So and I was like, That's gonna look like I'm saying yes, but you
fair enough. Go ahead, Lise. So Lise, just give us a quick introduction for those who haven't heard you, and again, any kind of like new visions you just kind of want to be able to put out there to the universe, and and then we can get more into the accountability discussion or the resilience discussion as we go. So welcome back, Lise, and thank you again for being here.
Hey, yeah, thank you, guys, and nice to be here. So yeah, I'm currently my main thing that is consuming all my time is kind of crafting this kind of multifaceted project of being a holistic vocal practitioner. So I've met a lot of people today, and I kind of given them the same spiel, so I feel like I'm getting closer to refining this like description. But essentially, it's like split between doing research on voice. I'm interested in this concept of true voice, and people having this access to this unique frequency that's specifically theirs, and finding ways to cultivate that, so that we can develop confidence in ourselves and use it as a self-development process and journey. And then I kind of facilitate group workshops on voice and one-to-one sessions, which are kind of very wide ranging in how we kind of go into that, depending on what people are looking for, and like the flavor of the day, and how people want to kind of make sound. And then I write, create, perform live improvisatory music. So that's my own creative practice. So yeah, there's like lots of different things that I'm developing at the moment, and one of them, which is kind of a little bit scary, is trying to step into actually creating a kind of solid business plan, because I have all the components, and I'm already doing the work, but it's kind of time for me to step into a kind of a more visible space where I can access communities that are receptive to this kind of work, and kind of be a bit more independent, and kind of set up on my own, and hopefully make links with new places, and kind of build new relationships with other people as well that are kind of in the same field, so that we can kind of share information with each other. But then that kind of also for me now is like round about the time where I should be applying to festivals for performance stuff. So yeah, like this is actually quite a busy time of year for me in terms of like preparing for like summer when things are kind of all on the go. And yeah, because my voice work, and somatic practice is part of, it's a paramount to like what I do in the world. Brendon, you mentioned about kind of that self-care process, and that's something that like if I don't factor that in, all areas of the work life balance kind of suffer. So yeah, I've been really busy the last few weeks and trying to kind of find little pockets and windows for me to just take a moment to breathe and kind of tune in to what I need, and try not to feel guilty about taking an extra hour or two just to have some space, because I know that it's going to nourish my projects in the long run. So yeah, that's pretty much me at the moment. Just very, very busy, and trying to kind of like do things efficiently and properly, which is a bit scary. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Lise, for sharing on the updates there. And yeah, I love again just being able to like vision you at festivals and doing festival music. Like, is that something that in the past you've already had experience with doing? I guess, is it like on stage, or is it like kind of like workshop classes, or a bit of both?
Yeah, a bit of both, and I suppose I'm trying to get to a point where I can integrate that. I also get involved with like doing crew and production stuff as well, because I like that element of actually like building. So yeah, sometimes you find yourself on site for a few weeks and seeing every facet of it, but then it gives you a very rich experience. But yeah, I've done a little bit in the last few years, but yeah, I think I need to expand my like field and kind of go to some new places and start to build those connections and yeah, meet other musicians really, because that's the good bit when you can find other people to jam with.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, just being able to get inspiration from the unique style that everybody else brings to the scene. That's really cool. And I guess that's the thing that's really special about music, is that it is like you can have these musicians that have like perhaps even such varied styles, but then you can still find a place where the two of you can collaborate and meet and jam and speak a shared language. So it's really, really cool. Awesome. Sweet. Lise, go ahead and just let people know where they can connect with you online, and we posted some of the links for your contact in the info down in the YouTube chat, and they'll be in the show notes as well.
Yeah. So yeah, my full name, Lise Mitchell Noble, if you search that or add a .com in the end, you'll link straight over to my website, which has kind of got lots of different info. Across social media, Instagram at the moment is under Truth Seeker Sounds, and that's one musical project. If you search Dram, as in a whiskey, Dram for a song, you'll find that on Facebook. It's got the most up-to-date live videos. I've also got an EP on Bandcamp at the moment called Taste the Universe. And yeah, there's a YouTube link somewhere else that's got some kind of experimental sound stuff on there. There's lots of bits and pieces. If you're into reading kind of like academic stuff, then there's a link for that on my webpage to like kind of my thesis that I did for my master's, which is about vocal development and identity. And then there's definitely information on Mongolia and what I've just done out there. So there's a lot of stuff to like wade through. So you'll find it across all those platforms. And if you've got questions about voice work or anything stimulated from that, then I'd love to hear from anyone. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Lise, for the update. And as we get into the other parts of the discussion again on kind of like cultivating resilience and stuff like that, do you got some stuff you wanted to share on that a little bit later as we get into it? Cool. Sweet. Okay, so we'll keep passing the talking stick around and give other leading members a chance to be able to share some updates and bring their wisdom and insight to the circle. So Lilly or Kris, whoever would like to go next, please go ahead. And Kris, if you want to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay.
Go
hey,
for it.
Brendon. So thank you, Elise, for sharing all of that wonderful information and stuff too. I feel like to just kind of go off of what you were talking about with musical artists, when they get together and they have something to share, even just coming together for this synergy circle and kind of like sharing these different aspects of our lives, like when someone does go, when you're not the first one to go and start talking, then I feel like I almost have like so much more to say now, that I can like go off of everything that you were talking about. And I took the time to write down a couple of the things that you were saying. And like one of the things that like I really noted about what you were talking about was when you were talking about kind of refining even just what it is that you're doing in your life, like like refining like that like kind of speech or that talk like about like the things that are going on in your life, and how like sometimes I feel like just today I found kind of how important it is sometimes to just share and let people know the different things that you are doing in your life, because that can actually like provide you this like new reflection upon yourself and the things that you are doing. Because for example, what I'm trying to say is that someone asked me today just like like, hey, how are you doing? And then I felt compelled just to tell them like everything that's been going on in my life and just be like, oh, I'm doing this and this. And through that sharing of myself and these different like things that I'm like getting up to in my life, through just getting that out, I actually became a lot more clear on how many things I'm trying to take on in my life at one point in time. And ultimately that, like realizing that I need to kind of take a step back from like, just jumping into all of these things, and to really get clear on and refine the vision as to, like what it is that I actually am stepping into, and not putting too much onto my plate, to go off of what you were saying, like Brendon. I can really relate to the fact of, like just really not putting too much on my plate, like in the time being, but really being more open to receiving recently, and just kind of like, really listening to, like my intuition, and kind of like allowing that to guide me on these next steps forward. Because essentially, like I feel within my life that I'm kind of releasing a lot of these different old structures and old paradigms that, like I'm kind of like getting out of. Like I have my last 3 shifts at Starbucks coming up this week, so it's kind of like releasing that old thing. And then literally the day after my last day at work, I start my yoga teacher training, so that's like a really big thing that I'm looking forward to, starting and beginning in my life. Yeah, and outside of that, I'm going to be planning on moving out of this job at Starbucks and possibly working at an arts and crafts store called like Michael's. Like I may work in the framing department there or something, but or or alternatively, I may work at this Whole Foods market where I may work in like the juice bar kind of section. But essentially, like either one of those routes will be much more aligned with like what I love to do ultimately, and really be like providing more than just this monetary income. It'll be like a lot more than just like getting a check at the end of the week. Because if I work at the Whole Foods place, I'll be getting a discount on all my groceries, on all these foods that I buy, so it'll be helping me in that respect. And if I worked at this arts and crafts store, it would be like paying for a lot of the canvases that I buy for my art. So like just really kind of like like realizing that I have this other option outside of the arts and crafts store. Like today I went and got the application to this Whole Foods market that I may like consider working at. So, yeah, just kind of like even like see like, and even just talking about these things, like it's like that's shifting my perspective to like looking at these things from more of an empowered perspective. Because sometimes like it's like in the day to day of like still drudging on at Starbucks and not really having all of these new things like like physically being manifest yet. It's sometimes like I feel like to talk to the collective, I feel like we can all relate to the fact that sometimes like like we have all these things that we're working on manifesting, but it's kind of underneath the surface, and like none of it has really like shown itself very physically yet. So we can oftentimes get like very discouraged because we're not seeing the fruits of our labor. But to actually relate this to like a metaphor, it's just like, or to envision the idea of a tree, and the fact that it is this seed form ultimately, and it's growing this root system underground that we don't really see whatsoever. And then like eventually like that starts to pop up to the surface, and then we see like results or evidence of like actual growth. And then like not until like a long time down the road do we actually get to pick the fruits of our labor. So it's just kind of relating it to this idea, I feel like, of the tree, and like like that providing something for us. Like sometimes we don't really see our vision kind of like manifesting like visibly yet, but we need to kind of just hold on and like keep that faith and trust within ourselves, and within all of the different things that we have like that we have planned, and all of the different doors that we've stepped into, and remind ourselves of all the great things that are coming, if we just um continue to stay like deeply rooted, within ourselves and within this mission, to remind ourselves of why it is that we're doing what we're doing. And like all of the great things that are going to soon be coming, like if we continue to keep the momentum going. Like that was just kind of going off of your last chat too, which was all about keeping the momentum going, and like to make 2020 the year of no burnouts. Like you were saying, to really like to allow for that is to um is to be nurturing ourselves, like before we can be there for others. And that's been a big lesson for me recently in these last couple weeks, is just like spreading myself in all these different directions. Sometimes I really need to like kind of come back to myself and just be like, I can open up and expand into all these areas that I'm interested in, but like it can happen in a much more focused and directive way where I'm directing my energy to fewer things at once, and then kind of like developing a stronger foundation in those things, and then being able to kind of like branch out into more areas once I've developed a solid foundation in those areas of my life. So
totally, man.
yeah,
That's
so
great.
yeah, I guess that's pretty much it.
Sweet, dude. Again, awesome. Thank you for sharing, and your wisdom and insight is appreciated. And again, I think it definitely echoes a lot of like similar themes that a lot of us are working through right now. Where again, I think right now it's just kind of like a great time to check in and just be like, like where is my focus right now, and can I afford to put my focus on this when I'm trying to do this sort of thing. So we need to be aware of things, but we also need to be aware of how much we're like focusing on things that aren't actually serving our bigger visions. Like it's okay to acknowledge them, but you have to be kind of like aware of like whether or not you're getting like kind of like sucked into the abyss of whatever that thing may be that's kind of like drawing your attention, and know that that thing drawing your attention may actually be there to be able to like teach you how to be able to develop the willpower to be able to kind of like focus elsewhere as well. Just because something's like easy to focus on, so to speak, and not even like easy, but more of like an impulse where it's just kind of you find yourself like, oh, I'm gonna check my phone, I'm gonna do this, oh, I'm gonna do that. Like those are the little things where you need to check in with yourself, because it's just like, is that serving me? Or is it distracting me? Or like, is it making me feel something that kind of like, and then I have to recalibrate sort of thing. So it's like really, really important to be able to just be like very, very like strict with what we are focusing on, knowing that everything that may be out there could again just kind of be like there to teach us how to be able to shift our focus elsewhere, if it's not fully like, again, just it takes awareness. So again, just being able to encourage ourselves and inviting everyone to again be gentle, but also at the same time be vigilant. So Kris, that's good, dude. Real quick, just let people know where they can find you on Instagram, and yeah, that's your main
Yeah.
place right now. Go for it.
Yeah, so if you guys want to find me on Instagram, it's at Kris Kulick. It's at and then KrisKulick. I'm not really active that much on Facebook like as of now, so yeah, just I guess reach out to me on Instagram. Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds good. And again, for everybody here, the show notes for all the leading members is in the information on YouTube afterwards, and I'll post it into the comments on the live chat at the same time. So for anybody here, be sure to check out the leading members on their Instagram, send them some comments, let them know that you tuned in, show them some love. All right, Lilly, we'll pass over to you again, just kind of like general quick updates, and then we'll switch gears into the next part of the discussion. And I don't think this broadcast really needs to be too long. So if we can keep it under 90 minutes, that's great. And yeah, and then again, focus on getting a good rest tonight would be part of the intention. So Lilly, go ahead. Welcome back, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yes, this time I feel much more organized being on a new I learned valuable lessons. We're always, though, if we're not mindful, capable of stretching ourselves too thin. And guys, at one point, it actually cost me my life. It's a true story. I was in a coma in a car accident. I was living life too fast, thinking too slow. So that resonates with you. I really would like you to like just consider possibly. The reason I'm mentioning this is because I just made a post on this earlier on Facebook. And I talked about how, well, first of all, this is spiritual and I don't want to get into religion. Like, that's not what I want to do. But I will say I do take some things from all religions. And one thing that I do honor is the Sabbath. I personally honor the Sabbath. So Sunday, I keep it on the traditional day, Sunday. If you don't have Sunday, then Monday, Tuesday, find it. I encourage you, if you don't have a day already, I pray you already do. But if you don't, have a day where you literally you might have to do more work earlier on in the week and like prep for this, but it's definitely worth it to have a day that's just dedicated to you and what you want to practice and do. Okay, where you have where you're set and have to be. Okay, no Sundays, no. Like whenever I'm self-employed, but anytime I've done an interview and anytime I've conducted an interview, I always honor, and it is honored, like if you need a Sunday off for your religious purposes, or your spirituality, whatever. Like, I'm not trying to get anyone out of working on Sundays. Like, I'm just trying to say that, like, there is a way. So I've heard people say everything. And one thing I've heard over and over again is my job, my job. Well, your job has to at least be as many Sundays as they can. Like, at least where I'm from. At least where I'm from. So I hope that's the same and consistent where you're from. So it's easy for me to just kind of keep it on Sunday, keep it low key. That's the day that is just for me, but then you guys are all a part of me. And I'm so glad that we're here collectively. I totally did not expect this for my day, but I am a vessel. And I just think sometimes we need to sit back and tell ourselves, hey, I'm just the vessel. And when we accept that we are just the vessel, when we follow our heart and our intuition, you'll know, because doors are just going to open for you. And I mean it metaphorically, but like how else can I tell you? Like for me in my life, and it can happen in your life, just spending 17 seconds a day, giving every last detail of maybe something in your near future. Maybe you need some money like now, or maybe you need something right now. But really, the universe, I found, likes to teach me patience. My human nature is impulsive, and my spirit reminds me that, hey, everything in divine time. So if it gets too much for me, I let it go, and I trust, and I have faith, and I believe that what I am requesting is going to manifest, and it does. And if you're here tonight, then this message is for you. If you're watching this in the future, this message is for you. It's for all of us. I wasn't supposed to be able to survive. I had 0% chance of life, of living. They were about to pull the plug on me. I had an out of body experience. Decided I want to come back. I don't want this to be about me and that. But if you guys know, like, about my story, if you're on my Facebook, Brendon, I'll make it easy for you. My Facebook is Lilly Love, and my Instagram is at light_love_lives. I'm big into gardening right now. I'm trying to literally plant seeds and figuratively with people. I have my Inner Flame candle line, which I just got my drawing pad. Yes, manifested my drawing pad. So now I can do my labels for my candles, and like Inner Flame is igniting your like inner passion. And that's something I can make with love. I just linked up with someone for dream catchers and like a big bulk supply of things that I would need. And like, I'm not too proud to take a deal. Like, it takes a team, it takes a village, guys. Like, we have to be humble, we have to be mindful, and we have to be consciously aware of, because one direction, one decision it's easier to make wrong choices than it is right if you're not mindful, is what I'm saying. So just having a day, one day a week, is my best recommendation. And this is Sunday, so of course I'm feeling great, but look at me on Monday, check me out Tuesday, check me out Wednesday, any day of the week. I'm wearing a smile, I'm happy, I am trying to spread love and joy. And being a part of this community is a place where you can come, and Brendon or another team active leading member will be there to talk with you and like kind of walk you through, because we're all having like the same or similar experience, but we're at different stages of our journey. So it's about finding out where you are in that journey, where you want to be on that journey, and ask the universe how it can get you there.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lily. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Is that...
Well, just being a candle maker, I can't help get this visual out of my mind. It is just like burning in my mind, literally. I just keep seeing a candle burning at two ends. Like, never burn your candle at two ends, okay? Never decide to light that other side. Speaking metaphorically, but if you were to have a candle and it had wicks at two ends and you burn it, it's going to burn up really fast, okay? It's not meant to do that, okay? So, like, there are times, though, to keep your flame going, you're going to need some support. You need some help fanning that flame. You're going to need something, but trying to do it yourself by like igniting it yourself, it's not a good idea. You're going to burn out. So just have faith and know that you'll know when you're on the right path. And just being here is part of being on the right path. And growing pains can hurt, like physically or whatever. Like sometimes growing pains can hurt emotionally, but they're healing, and you have to feel to heal. So something that helps me and has helped me on my journey, and many others, is just to remember this too shall pass. Like, this is only temporary. There's a bigger picture, and like, I need to be the warrior, the superhero, the badass Lily that I am. Love that I am. And I just want to, wish peace upon all of you, and just know that if I can get up here and do it, last time I cried, last time I got on here, I cried. And now I'm on here smiling, guys. So if I can do that, you can do that. And I want to see your smiling face up here too.
Thank you, Lily. And I was literally just gonna say, like, it's really cool because, again, with doing this broadcast, it's a chance for me, for us, for the community to like get to know each other, and then from like for us to be able to see the story through us constantly showing up. And the Lily who was here last broadcast, and now the Lily who is here this broadcast, again, you can just kind of like, without it being like verbally said, there's a way to be able to read each other. And again, it's very wonderful to be able to like see, again, whether we're calling it the aura or just the vibe that everyone's carrying. And Lily and Kris and Lise and everybody here, thank you for bringing your charismatic vibe to the circle. And whatever vibe you happen to be at this whatever week or another. But again, I love the fact that all of us right now are kind of, again, just holding that like, okay, like, let's do the work, let's get stuff done. So let's talk a little bit more about that. And again, for everybody here in the chats, I'd love to be able to invite you to be a part of the conversation when it comes to cultivating resilience within your life. What are some things that you think of? What are some things that come to mind that help you along with this process? And so I'll just kind of start off, and again, I think a lot of the ability to be able to like cultivate resilience really comes down to the story that you are choosing to tell yourself. And again, as cliche as it sounds, it's one of those things where it's like, is this happening to me or is this happening for me? And that's kind of something that can be said, but it's more of like a trick question where it's like, yes, it is always happening for you, but what are you going to do with it, right? Because it's kind of like the universe will give you the situation, but that doesn't just mean that the situation in itself is the solution. It's what you do with the situation. Because sometimes, again, within this dynamic realm of using free will, there are going to be times where like something may show up for you, but then you may kind of like meet it maybe from, call it an egoic space, or a place where perhaps is like projecting past wounds or things like that, and then it just kind of like puts you into another thing where it's just kind of like forcing you to be able to see like, look, like your behavior isn't solving the problem, therefore you have to be able to change your behavior in order to be able to change the outcome of what it is. Otherwise you're just going to keep repeating this and repeating this and repeating this. So yes, things are happening for you, but they're happening for you to be able to call you into a deeper place of spiritual maturity, into a deeper place of your own conscious awareness. And I always kind of say that, consciousness, this universe, this holographic matrix, it's not just here to make you happy. It's here to evolve your consciousness. And for that very reason alone is why there will be things that will perhaps sometimes be out of our control, yet ultimately affect our reality. That's why there will be things that might kind of, like take something out of it that was once there and then shift us into focusing somewhere else, or why there might be something where like someone's pushing our buttons, but then it encourages us to prove even more who we are and who we are here to be. It's constantly the universe of just basically just like whispering to you and just saying like, show us who you are, like step up, show us who you are, right? Because if you're just playing the video game on easy mode the entire time, you're not going to level up. You're going to stay in like the same level, and you're just going to kind of repeat, and you're eventually just, some people can stay there for a while, but eventually you're going to get bored, and eventually you're going to hear the calling to be able to say like, I want to find out what other dungeons are out there. I want to be able to like reach the top of the mountains. I want to be able to like see who I become when I level up throughout the game. And that is the gift that we give ourselves, to constantly see ourselves showing up to situations, which is such a beautiful, beautiful celebration in itself, where you'll go through something, and maybe again it's like, maybe it's a mix of just kind of like, you're just kind of like in this zone where you're just kind of like letting spirit guide you, but then other times it takes a lot of self-reflection and meditation and willpower and everything. And then as you move through the situation, you kind of get to the point where you can kind of look back on it, and you can invite yourself to be like, whoa, like I'm proud of that person. Like to almost kind of like see it from a third person perspective, where like, I'm proud of that person for showing up. I'm proud of that person for like demonstrating again, like the character that they are. And so again, I think a lot of the times the challenges that we go through are there to shape our character, and also for us to be able to like ask ourselves, what character do we choose to bring ourselves forward as, and who can we again allow ourselves to become. And so some little things that I'm just practicing. Last night I did this, and I feel like it's going to be something where I'm going to probably do this continuously each night, just because I'm like, okay, this is like a simple practice, but it just kind of gets me into a zone, especially before bed. And very simply put, all I did was sit on my bed, and then I like lit a candle, and then I just like meditated while looking at the candle. And I basically just kind of like sat there and I relaxed. And I actually, what I did is like, I had the candle, and then behind the candle, I actually had like one of the Paradigm Shift Central sigil buttons. This is the button that like I'm wearing right now. So like that sigil, that's the Paradigm Shift sigil. Paradigm Shift sigil. This is like a sigil. And again, sigils are kind of like symbols that we can encode with intention. This is a very, very powerful sigil. And it's something that we don't usually always utilize within the Paradigm Shift Central project, even though it is there to be utilized. And it's something where I invite other people to utilize it too, if you have the button, or even like put the image on a piece of paper or something like that. But again, it's kind of like this like compass star beacon symbol that kind of came to me many, many years ago, and it's and it kind of like looks like ancient and futuristic at the same time. But anyways, for me, my practice was again kind of like acknowledging that earlier in the week there were experiences where I was having trouble sleeping, and my mind was kind of getting into that process where things were looping. And how many people have experienced that, where you're just like, I just want to go to sleep, and my brain's like looping, and it keeps like kind of replaying things, or it's thinking about possible futures, or it's going through again, even this is common with trauma. This is common with traumatic events and things like that. Having the ability to just be able to like create a little practice where it's like, okay, before I go to bed, I know I'm going to do something for myself. And that's something I'm going to do for myself is set up this candle, sit comfortably on my bed, and just focus on my breathing, and just allow myself to be present in that moment, and allow myself to think what I need to think, allow myself to just practice bringing myself into gratitude. Maybe use that moment to even just like send some love out to people within your life. Send some love out to anybody who you feel called to be able to send some love out to, and then sit there for a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes, maybe a half hour, whatever works for you. And then when you feel like nice and ready, don't check your phone. Like already have put your phone down. Like don't like bring your phone back into this. So like once you've put your phone down, that's when you light your candle, and then the phone doesn't get touched until whenever, right? Or just take your phone and throw it out the fucking window. I don't care. Whatever works, whatever's easier for you, right? Just like hopefully it gets hit by like, maybe we'll get like run over by a car or something like that if you're lucky. Then you never have to deal with it. Imagine what are the odds? But anyways, so And then from there, again, you just practice this meditation, and then you invite yourself to kind of create this routine that it's like, by doing this is going to allow me to just like comfortably ease myself into sleep. And that in itself for me is something that I've been doing, because I feel like, again, sleep is so important. And everything that we do within our day actually prepares us for sleep. And again, it literally begins from the moment we wake up will determine how we end up going to sleep that night. And that's where, again, you can start, we can talk more about this later, because I want to just focus on one other thing. You can talk about the idea of, again, you know, like the importance of waking up with the sun, and even grounding yourself early in the day. If you're not in like a climate that may be incredibly snowy, like Canada or something like that, you could do this anyways. Go outside, stand barefoot, get your feet on the ground, look at the sun for a little bit. If the sun's rising, do that as early as you can. Get fresh air as early as you can first thing in the day. And again, even just like drinking some water, pay attention to like the food that you're eating first thing in the day. Try to kind of choose like not to, it's almost ideal if you like kind of like just drink water just for the first little bit, and then do a couple things, maybe do some exercise, and then have a light snack a little bit later on, opposed to being like, okay, I'm awake, let's eat that bagel again. And then like that can kind of be like a fuel that kind of like it might kind of like go fast, but then it kind of doesn't have a long draw to it. So you almost want to train your body to be able to like kind of get into the habit of doing more in the morning with less. The other thing I just want to mention, going back to, again, kind of like the brain looping process, which again is something that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, because hey, we all got one. Raise your hand if you got a brain. Like, what? Like, it's all the robots out there. Yep, beep beep. But anyways, what I was gonna say, and this was something that was passed on to me by a friend of mine, Luke Westlake, who is working with another guy named Chris Wiley, who's like this super cool like brain wizard, neuroscience hacker type guy, who I'm working on going to be featuring more within the project a little bit later on. But I had a really cool like one-on-one session with him today. And even like the thing that we did at the beginning, where it's kind of like imagining yourself in that place of like empowerment and kind of giving yourself permission to feel that in any moment, that was inspired by like working with him today. But one thing that Luke had passed on to me was, which I think he probably got from Chris, is that with the looping mind issue, and again, going back to the idea that this is about, you know, just overall kind of like resilience, and what do we do when the challenges arise, and what do we do when our mind is looping, right? This is important. We need to know how to be able to cope with this. This is actually a really simple practice, but I think it's just something that we need to hear in order to be even know that it's possible. But basically, with the way how the mind loops, we have to understand that we do actually have control of the way it loops, at the very least, even in just the speed at which it loops. So if you have like something repeating in your head, you'll notice that you can actually increase it. You can increase the speed in which it loops, and you'll be like, oh, here's the story, and you can do this, like, not that you would actually want to, but you notice that you can actually do this. In the exact same way, what is, again, this is almost like a secret that people somehow forget that the brain can do. You can take those same looping patterns and you can actually slow them down. You can actually begin to like reverse them. And so if you have a looping thing in your head, just kind of like try doing that, where next time you feel it coming in your head, just kind of practice slowing it down. But then what you do is you actually slow it down so much to the point where it almost basically kind of like distorts the image. It kind of like stretches it out, and then like the tone of the story and the words almost becomes like a single frequency, and then that frequency kind of becomes like just like a single humming noise, and then eventually it just kind of like fades itself almost into like white noise, and it's like so slow that it's like not even really present in the same way. So that's something that I would encourage everybody here to try practicing next time, if they find they're trying to go to sleep, or even just during the day, if they find like, again, there's like intrusive thoughts or thoughts they don't really want to be able to be focusing on. That's a way to be able to kind of like use the cognitive abilities of our brain to kind of reprogram the way in which we associate with those looping patterns, instead of being like, oh no, here come the loops. Here comes the loop. Here comes the loop. Basically, to again be able to be like, okay, here it comes. What's my coping mechanism? What do I do in this situation? So again, I think in any case, knowing what our coping mechanisms are allow us to be able to observe things as they arise that we will first address as perhaps a challenge, but then to be able to see it as a chance to be able to step into a place of vigilance of resilience, of flexibility, of adaptability as well. And then so the other idea real quick, just with the looping thing, is that what you can actually do is that you can actually kind of like, again, realize how much you're actually in control of your thoughts in terms of like the focus and the speed. And in the same way, you can kind of take a loop and kind of like slow it down and almost like reverse it. You can actually kind of like play that back and project it the other way, where you can actually use that to empower yourself towards your intentions, towards your objectives, where it's like, okay, like, what is my objective? Like, okay, get stuff done, get shift done, manifest that apartment, get my job, get my stuff in order. And then again, you kind of like use that similar process where it's like you're taking that thought and it's like you're just kind of like giving like an arrowhead to it within the visualization of your mind, and you're just kind of like really kind of like projecting it through your consciousness. I know this is kind of hard to almost like explain. It's almost like you kind of like need to like visualize this in terms of how the brain works as like something beyond just neurons and stuff like that. And I'm sure Luke could explain it even better, but again, that's just something that I very just simply put wanted to be able to pass on to the people here. And other quick things that I'll mention in terms of like resilience and stuff like that, a lot. And if this is resonating for anybody in the chat, drop an 1111 if anything that I said about the looping and thing makes sense for you, or it feels relevant, or try it, or you want to do the candle meditation. I honestly encourage everybody here to practice doing the candle meditation at night. Seriously, like, why not, right? Like, if you got a candle, maybe go out and invest, go to Michael's Arts and Crafts and talk to Kris and get a candle, and basically, again, like, set that routine where you just create that condition where it's just like, this is non-negotiable. This is just what I do every night, because it's like taking care of a vehicle, it's taking care of the needs that, again, it's not just the fact that you do it there because it's a chore. It's you do it then because it's actually going to affect the way you sleep, which is going to affect the way you show up, which is going to affect the work tomorrow down the road. So it's like doing the actions now that are going to like lead momentum into the things that you're doing tomorrow. It's like literally tomorrow starts today with how you go to sleep when you think about it. So the other thing I was just going to say real quick, because again, I'm just kind of babbling on here a little bit. It's all practice. Thanks for listening. But again, what I was going to say is the other thing I really encourage people to invite into their practice is reminding ourselves how much physical movements helps with resilience. Meaning, basically, if you find yourself where it's just kind of like you feel like you're just like, oh, like I feel sad, I feel depressed, I feel unmotivated, I feel like, like there's like something heavy inside of me. Usually, like, as much as it helps to talk to someone and to stuff like that, one of the most immediate things you can do is to like shift your posture, open up your shoulders, open up your chest, go exercise, go get a walk, go get some fresh air, dance, listen to some drum and bass, throw it down hard, whatever you got to do. Go work out, go play hockey, go punch do some martial arts training with a tree. Those simple things are, again, going to like release like different like neurochemical reactions within the brain, which is going to kind of flood the body with like dopamines, and then you're going to kind of be able to be like, oh wait, like why was I like, like why did that have such a grip on me? Again, sometimes those grips exist in order to be able to teach us like how to be able to, again, like kind of like rise through them and rise above it. So it's like, if you never had those weights, you wouldn't get stronger if you were lifting something up. So think of again, even like those emotional shadows and those emotional things, not to say that you're not meant to feel them. You do want to feel them. You want to pay attention to why you're feeling them and the lessons and stuff like that, but just feel them in a way that's proactive, where you're not accidentally feeling them for longer than you need to. And I'm not trying to say like, oh, for anybody here, there's no shame here, because if you've gone through, again, like periods of sadness, again, like that's totally understandable. Sometimes it lasts for a while. But what if we as a community were to kind of develop this mindset where it's like, okay, those periods when we do feel sad and we do feel kind of like challenged and things like that, what if, because of our mindset, because of our coping abilities, instead of kind of like getting knocked off course for like 2 weeks, what if we were to be able to like work through what we need to work through, use our coping mechanisms, develop resilience, and be back in the game within 2 days? so to speak, you know? So it's like, how many times have we gone through heartbreak and we're just like, and you see that happen to people. It's just oh yeah, he has not been wearing pants for 2 months straight because his heart's been broken and stuff like that, right? But again, is that necessary? No, it's not. Not to say their feelings aren't valid, but with the right coping mechanism, somebody can come in there and be like, yo, okay, here, I'm going to give you some coaching. I'm going to give you some instructions. Do this, do X, Y, and Z, and see how you feel within 24 hours from now. And suddenly you're going to feel that so much of it was kind of physically in the body. And when you can kind of get into that mindset, when you can get into this idea that this too is good, this too is calling you into something higher. And again, not to say that every challenging situation you can just define as good, but again, it's your ability to be able to just see it as a way that's going to allow you to connect deeper with yourself, deeper with your soul, deeper with a part of yourself that maybe you hadn't talked to before. And maybe that's why the challenge arose, so that you could have that conversation with a part of yourself. And then it's your decision to be able to say, okay, now that we've had this conversation, let's get back on track. Let's get back into focus. Let's get back on gear and everything like that. Because again, even for me, really simple. I've got objectives this month that I have to do. It is non-negotiable. I cannot weep and cry for weeks on end. That is literally just non-negotiable for me. Therefore, it's literally a part of my job where it's okay, I'm feeling these things. I have to be responsible for how I deal with them. And to be able to take that responsibility on myself, and to take it from a place of, again, optimism and again, embracing it as a catalyst to call me into more of who I am in terms of my resilience. And so again, I'm still learning, I'm still developing. It's still something that, again, I think it becomes with creating new routines, creating new habits, and experiencing the benefits from that. But every single one of us is in a place where there's little things that we can do where, again, it's just going to allow us to become more just more succinct in our ability to be able to ride those waves. Again, you can't change the ocean, but you can learn to ride the waves. So drop some 1111s in the chat if that resonates with you, and I'll pass it around the talking stick. I'd love to even just hear some feedback on, again, I know I mentioned a couple things there. I mentioned the candle thing. I mentioned the kind of the brain looping technique and things like that. Again, just kind of the mindset belief of understanding things happening for you and things. And again, even briefly cold showers, resilience training, exercise, all of those things. General thoughts, just opening up the mic. Let's just kind of popcorn style this, and we'll hang out together here for about 45 minutes and see again what spirit comes through with. Kris, we'll pass it over to you. Go ahead, dude.
Okay, so I don't know, I was just getting really excited because as you were reading that, I actually got out my tarot cards. I these are the galactic heritage. Whoa, there goes all the cards. These are the galactic heritage cards. They're written by Lisa Royal, and I'm not gonna go super in depth and give everyone a reading or anything like that, because that would take a long time. But ultimately, I just wanted to I stumbled upon this one page that I feel just resonated perfectly with so many of the things that you were talking about. So I it was card number, oh my god, oh okay, luckily I just pulled it out. Okay, so it was card number 67, and it was self-observance. And you can I don't know if anyone can really see what this image looks like, but it's this being that's kind of literally looking at itself in a mirror, observing itself essentially. What this card is about kind of looking at ourselves in the mirror, but in this way where it's without judgment, when we're really looking at ourselves honestly, and we can yeah, just view ourselves for our patterns, and the good, the bad, and seeing it all as part of who we are essentially. And seeing it as you were saying, a catalyst for growth, and for implementing new changes. And this card even says in the commentary multiple times just different things about maturity. And I know that you mentioned that word a couple of times, and it's I think that as a collective, we're all moving into this deeper space of spiritual maturity in a lot of different ways, where it's you said a couple times too, just the word non-negotiable, and it's just if anyone even has that kind of attitude towards what they're doing, oriented towards kind of staying aligned with what it is that they're trying to do and what it is they're trying to manifest, if you have that attitude of non-negotiable, of something being non-negotiable, it's like, really kind of like evolving your perspective or your standpoint to it being something where it's not just okay anymore, to go like half-assed, or to not really like, kind of like give your all or 100% towards like, like towards creating this like thing that you're trying to do, because it's something that really means something, that means a lot to you ultimately. And yeah, so anyway, I just kind of wanted to read like a little portion of like what it says about the card. So basically, it just says that this is like from the Lyran system for anyone who's interested, and it's about it basically says that after much struggle as a species, the Lyrans eventually healed themselves by honestly and objectively observing themselves. At first, this can be a difficult task, but in the end, it leads to powerful transformation as long as it is done without judgment. The power of self observation is essential for any person or species who seeks transformation. Begin this process now. Just observe. See your habits and patterns without the need to fix anything. It is an alchemical process that produces spiritual evolution on a profound level. The love and wisdom of the Lyran forefathers can guide you. Just ask for their help. And so, yeah, then it kind of goes into talking a little bit more about the Lyran system. But basically, it says when a culture enters this phase of species maturity, it is like a renaissance. Consciousness begins to shift, and they begin entering the galactic community from a place of respect and with the vision of the unified whole of creation rather than individual planets or species. This card is very important because Earth has just begun making its first tiny steps towards species maturity like their Lyran forefathers. One of the most essential aspects of expressing this maturity is the ability to see oneself clearly, to see the negative as well as the positive, and embrace it all as a valuable growth lesson. It requires maturity to see the things that need to be changed about yourself and then implement those sometimes painful changes in order to experience a rebirth. At this time in Earth's development, this ability of self-observance is crucial for both the human species as a whole and for individuals. Without this honest self-evaluation, neither a species nor a person can fully transform. And so, yeah, I know that, like, that was like a lot that I just shared with you, but it's like, I feel like it's just connecting with a lot of the things that you were going off of, which is this like, honest like self-evaluation that, I think that we all kind of need to have, like, to be real with ourselves. But then, it comes down to the idea of like, like it was saying, it's not like hanging our heads and like, getting like so upset about, like different things that maybe we like see within ourselves, that different patterns that we don't like, that we continue to keep doing. It's ultimately like seeing them for what they are, and then just realizing that we can change, like at that next now moment. It's like, oh, new now moment, I can do something different. And it's like that's something that I've been implementing myself in a lot of ways, is that like say like one thing like that I do that like maybe like out of alignment, and then instead of allowing that to like lead to like hanging my head low for the next like 5 minutes, or even the next like couple days or something, I allow myself to just get out of that space of like feeling sorry for myself, or like feeling like like it's the end of the world, like it's instead just putting it in perspective and realizing that like we have the power to change like who we are, and we are a different person in each every new now moment, and that like we are always constantly evolving and changing. And so with that, implementing new changes is just as easy as like like stopping for a second and realizing that it's not the end of the world, and that like we can just like make some changes, and like yeah, it can happen, just like that. Yeah, so I know that was a lot, but thank you for allowing me to share that, because I just felt called to kind of sharing that card about self-observance.
That's good though. I mean, again, I love the synchronicity of the fact that you pulled that. Obviously it was serving to the moment.
I can't hear you right now.
Oh, there we go. Okay, now you can hear me. They could hear me, but I forgot to unmute myself within the chat. So no, that was good. I appreciate the synchronicity of you sharing that. Like again, like that's just kind of like the message came through in the moment. So that was really awesome, man. That was appropriate. So that was good. And like, did you literally just draw that card as we were doing that?
Yeah, I was actually.
So that was a legit draw.
I was actually looking for a different card, but then like it like wouldn't let me find that card, and it was like, no, like you need to talk about this one. And I was like, okay.
Fair enough. That's good though, man. But yeah, again, it's I put a little post on Instagram the other day where again it's basically that idea that I put it as like a quote from the universe where it said like I know like this was never meant to be easy, but it is what we need, and therefore it's worth it. It's kind of one of those things. So cool. Okay, we'll keep going around the circle. I did just want to be able to welcome and say hello to Neil. Neil, welcome to the circle, dude. And we've already kind of gone through introductions and stuff like that. We're into the discussion now where we're just kind of like talking about ways to be able to like cultivate resilience and just be able to like share that with our listening audience as well. Neil, without having to do too long of an intro, can you just kind of like briefly introduce yourself, and then we'll check back in to give other people a chance to respond to the last question, and then we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Is that cool?
Yeah. So you just want me to introduce myself right now, right?
Yeah. Real, just like quick pitch. Yeah.
All right. What's going on, everybody? My name is Neil. I'm the founder of an organization called Portal to Ascension. I'm here in Southern California right now, and basically been around for doing events on consciousness, UFO disclosure, galactic history, but a lot on true world history, working with archaeologists and geologists and all types of spiritualists in order to get awareness out about the true timeline of our ancient past, but connecting that to the evolution of consciousness and how we can make informed decisions now to create an amazing future. But truly, it's all about the evolution of consciousness. So right now, we create around 110 events a year. I'm on my other computer right next to me. We have a whistleblower doing a webinar at the same time that I'm doing this. So we basically do an event every single week, sometimes 2 a week. World tours, work with authors, speakers, researchers, ufologists, yogis, anybody that can really help create this shift in consciousness. And what we've become in the last 3 years is an online university for this awareness, where it's kind of like Netflix for consciousness. So everything gets stored there. People can sign up to our website, portaltoascension.org, and you basically get a username and password emailed to you where you can access the website and browse the footage. But our mission is really just about assisting people with doing the inner work so we can create a future that works for everyone.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you, Neil. And again, for everybody here, definitely check out Neil's work. It's amazing content. And again, that's at portaltoascension.org. And we'll put the links for that in the chat and in the show notes. So cool. Okay. So as we just kind of like go back to, again, our topic of discussion here, again, just being able to cultivate resilience, we'll set a time frame where I'd like to be able to wrap up this broadcast probably again just within like 30 minutes from now. We'll keep it pretty short and concise. So going around, Lise or Lilly, if you had anything you want to reply to first, either based on what I said or what Kris said, or just something completely new to add to the listening audience, please feel free. So Lise, go ahead. We'll pass it over to you first.
Okay, so to follow like the thread in relation to resilience, but also bringing it kind of like way back to earlier in the conversation when Kris was mentioning feeling called to like share, when somebody asks you like, how are you doing? And then, that impulse to be like, well, and launch into, your life story as of today. It just reminded me actually when I was in Mongolia, and you're kind of learning like your language skills, and you kind of feel quite chuffed that you've managed to get so far as to be like, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? They actually have a way of saying, what have you been doing? And then what have you been doing? Like, to like a different depth. So they say like, Ta yu hisinbe, which is like, what have you been up to? And then if they want to say like, please tell me all about the many things that you've been doing, they say like Ta yu hisinbe. So they make an emphasis, and they show themselves as being like, I am open and available and receptive to hear everything that you're willing to share. So I think that's really interesting that they kind of have those two qualities, and maybe that you would use them, one if you're like passing someone in the street, and you'd use another one if you're like sitting drinking tea with someone and kind of in a more chilled atmosphere. So to kind of link that anecdote to resilience, I think part of resilience for me is definitely about challenging yourself in situations to connect with that like intuitive wisdom that is there, and kind of acting upon your responses. Like until you put something to the test, you're not going to know to what extent it's effective or going to help you grow. And I think, yeah, like so often we are lacking in our commitment to engage with, other people on a level that just goes beyond the superficial. And that can be quite an unconscious like process, I think, just due to like our busyness and our routines during the day, and kind of not wanting to take up too much space or kind of feel like we're imposing on someone. But in doing that, you're kind of pushing yourself into like, okay, I'm the resilience training is like, how can I be more open? How can I be more like to honor myself? And also that kind of comes full circle to how that other person might then feel called to respond to you, and like you actually create a kind of sharing space where somebody else actually goes, well, and they go off on their kind of little tangent. But yeah, like in terms of specific things that I use, the last like couple of weeks for me has been like a really good playground to test out lots of things. And I kind of have been getting round to things that were like on the list of stuff to add to my like daily routine, and they just haven't been implemented up until like the new year, because there was so much going on and I wanted to find like the right space to sort of plant those seeds. One of them is a really simple 9-minute conscious meditation, like focused exercise, which again, it was somebody in Mongolia that shared it with me, in terms of like a tool that they use. And it does involve like just using the like frequency. So despite me doing voice work, like mantra is not something that I use a great deal of at the moment. That might change, because I'm still really like building my framework and foundation at the moment on just like different qualities of frequency before I start getting too much into like intentional stuff, and particularly things that are like already connected to and attributed to like different movements, because I want to like do my research on like, the source and where things have come from, because I feel like having that information is so important in terms of how you feel it can relate to you and how you can begin to apply it. And whether you want to include all elements of that or refine it for yourself. So um yeah, it's taken me a while to kind of like come to like feeling, okay, I've got the time and the energy and the willingness to actually sit and kind of incorporate doing some sound like that. So I've started doing that in the morning, and it's also it just begins with breath work, in the heart space. The consciousness comes up here, down here, and then you're bringing your focus of attention down to the base, and then just toning up on all your chakras. And then you visualize and physically are moving your hands outward, and it's about your expansion into like your energetic expansion into the spaces beyond the self, out into the far reaches of the cosmos, I guess, however far you're kind of prepared to go. But yeah, I've been doing that for like a week now, and I can see already that just giving myself that time in the morning, even if I'm like feeling really lethargic, it does force me to just integrate and come to it's almost like a resting point. It's like you're awake and you're in that sort of transient space, but um it just gives you time to like focus on nothing in particular before interacting with anyone, before interacting with your phone. Actually, the other day I got a call just as I was about to start, and I was like, no, I'm ignoring that now because this is my time. So it was really resonating with what Lilly was saying about, yeah, like finding space to just like be like, no, this is my time. So you can find those moments within the day, is my point on that. And then, yeah, Tai Chi is something I really love as a tool. And I like working with like physical activities, and I can bring that awareness into like movement and like dance stuff, which is really fun. And like Brendon, you were describing earlier on, this spiral in terms of like looping thought loops and stuff like that, and the way that you were describing like the stretching out of your thoughts, and kind of manipulating the speed with all of that. Like I was out last night dancing, and I was just like, I've been doing my Tai Chi for like a good like 10 days solidly now, uninterrupted, which after like having a break from it for a while and being out of the habit of having it as a part of a daily practice. And just my ability to drop into that space of like, sometimes it might take you a while in like a shared space when you're like being physical and working with energy and releasing energy, to kind of feel comfortable enough to like be like, okay, I'm opening, I'm shedding layers, and kind of allowing myself to be like fully physically present and grounded. So I kind of came into that space a lot quicker, and I could have fun, a lot more quick as well, because I was actually able to kind of work my space and use my body, and everything felt kind of more fluid and open. And all of that is really useful for the voice work stuff as well. So like physical practice, I would say, is like so important. Like the weather here's been really terrible recently, and just even like I forced myself to go out in like a storm. It was like we had a big storm. I'm pretty sure it was called Storm Brendon, actually. Um, and so I forced myself to go out in that a few times, despite like driving rain into the hood and like 60-mile-an-hour winds, and like snow and all this stuff. And just the gratification you get from knowing that you've done that. So like next time you might get caught in that weather, but you've been there before, you've done it. It's like it's all part of your training. Like I think like really quick fresh from my memory last night is like the way I dance is like I view it as like a training opportunity. I'm like, if I go to dance, like I'm really bad socially with people because I'm like, I'm here to dance. It's my opportunity to channel, to process, and to work energy and to move it through my body. And you can apply that like principle in psychology to really anything, just like pushing yourself that extra bit that you can't necessarily envisage. It's kind of like leads you ever closer to that kind of. A friend of mine the other day said something about like the supreme self, and he wasn't kind of talking about it from an egotistical standpoint, but like it was his way of describing the higher self, really. And I was asking him about it in relation to like when he did training, and when he's doing stuff, like is he setting an intention with that, and is he using visualization as a tool? And so he mentioned this like supreme self, and saying trying to bring that into focus almost like as a something to like step into, but at the same time it's holding like enough non-attachment for it not to be like this goal-based kind of final destination that you're like never going to reach. And then I suppose we get like fleeting moments of synchronicity, or being able to tap into that when we gain more insight, or like we find ourselves in flow, and we catch glimpses of our kind of shift, I guess. So yeah, there's so many things that I could add, which I'm not going to just now to let the other guys jump in. But yeah, like a lot of what you're saying very much resonates, and yeah, I think like the resilience thing as well does fall into rest. That's all I would say and reiterate because it's been mentioned already, but it's definitely worth saying again, is that like sleep and dream time is resilience time. Like if you use that wisely, and you're kind of in a restful enough space to be able to utilize that for like a lucid dreaming space, or for like projection and vision boarding, like that stuff I find only comes when you're giving yourself enough space in the day as well, and opportunities to find balance, so that it's not always just like do. Like your integration and processing is like as important, if not more, in terms of like finding that sweet spot. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Lise, for sharing. Going back to what was like the saying that you were talking about at the beginning in another language? What was that? What language was that?
In Mongolian.
That was Mongolian. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think I missed that. Okay, cool. Now it makes sense. Sweet. Awesome. Thank you, Lise. Cool. Okay, so we'll just kind of keep moving along with the conversations. I don't want to take up too much more of the mic time, but if Lilly or Neil wants to jump in, and again, we'll probably wrap up this broadcast within the next like 20-ish minutes, give or take. So
Lilly can go next.
Lilly? Okay, cool. Thanks, Neil. Go ahead, Lilly.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I'm actually gonna let you like take my spot. I've got something I need to tend to. I'm baking cookies for something, and they're getting done. So I had someone help me and put them in the oven. They just let me know they're done. So I need to make some more. But yes, resilience. 100% can I speak on resilience? Because of my looking at myself in the mirror after my accident. I wasn't even walking at that time. I was using a walker, so like I have a leg up on all you guys, like on as far as being older and like knowing how to use it. And I just looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, this is not me. And like everything the doctors told me I couldn't, non-negotiable. Here's gonna come in, like it was non-negotiable. You tell me I can't, I'm gonna show you I can, because I knew that everything I needed was inside of me, and I never lost sight of that. And it really came about with my out of body experience, and we don't really have time to get into all of that, but nonetheless everyone has mentioned really, really excellent things. But just making a daily schedule, like give yourself a schedule, or if that's too much to start with, just like journal and just write down everything you did in a day. See what kind of things that you can eliminate that are not helping you on the path you want to be on. If it's not, X-nay. Like take it off the list. Like if things are feeling heavy, like we're only given as much as we can handle, we got this. And so just remove any possible temptations if that's what it is. Remove obligations if it doesn't serve your purpose. Anything that's not serving your purpose, if people are hindering it or anything is getting in the way, just get out of your life. This is a lifestyle. This is not like a once a week commitment. This is changing your life. This is completely a rebirth. This is magical, and there's so many gifts to be given, and there's so much detail I could go into. I could go on forever and ever with gratitude, and by being given a second chance to come back and deliver some of these messages. But if nothing else, love. If you don't know where else to go and you don't know what else to turn to, just call out there, have and just remain in faith and love. And everybody's journey is going to be different. So there are signs everywhere, is what I can tell you. I see signs all the time. And I used to go around and tell my signs to other people, and they were like, okay, it doesn't mean anything. But like to me, I'm like, no, you don't understand, this is a sign for da 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 da. And I learned to start keeping those things to myself, unless obviously I was in the company of someone that appreciate that, like, that maybe could use that. Like I see a sign, and like it's not maybe so obvious to someone else. I was just in a park and I was like, dude, there's magic in this park. Like, I'm telling you, there's magic in this park. And this person was skeptical. And he's like, no, like, there's magic in this park. What do you mean? And I'm like, I feel it, man. And like, I just know it. And like, as we were leaving, he actually saw it in on the ground. It was written something about like, there's magic here. And I do have a picture of it, and I should post it on my Facebook, but he actually spotted it, and I was like, see, there's signs everywhere. That's just, and I was like, that was just like an obvious sign that there's magic here, but I felt it. So soon as you learn to make it a lifestyle, follow your intuition, you will be shown signs. No, you're not losing. Let me just fast forward a little bit to save you some time. You're not losing your mind. Just come and talk with more of us. And because I know that at times it can seem like you need to be validated. Like, even for me, I give readings, I give psychic readings, I do tarot card readings, medium work, cleansing work, very spiritual based things. And I can tell you that the energy that you allow into your life, and I say allow because if you have the right kind of energy, that other energy is not allowed to affect you unless you allow it to. So see, once you know that you are in control of every single aspect, and you can achieve anything with enough practice and discipline and being mindful, then the like beyond the sky, like you see the bigger picture. So many times we get caught in these little tiny details, and we can get stuck on the details and drive ourselves nuts, and that's when we question our sanity, because we're getting stuck on the details. Look at the big picture, see the big picture, hold on to that big picture, keep your intention, your pure intention, and I hope it includes love, and carry about your journey. And it's not going to be easy. I'm not going to lie to you. This is not for the faint of heart. I have scars all over, and I see them as spiritual beauty marks. So like, I'm not saying like just like to scare anybody, no, but like I'm just going to speak the truth. And that growing pains hurt, but it's for your own good. Like, I don't know, but when I got spanked, it was like, this is for your own good. And I'm like, yeah, this is for my own good. And now that I'm older, like I'm so grateful for all of those times I was disciplined, because it helps give me my morals and my moral compass, and so much more. But I just mean that I learned. As long as you learn from your lessons, you don't have to do them again. You don't want to be stuck in a loop of insanity of just keep, and that the definition is like doing the same thing like over and over again. Get out of that cycle. Think more like the infinity loop, and just know that you're a link in the chain. Like an infinity symbol looks like a link to me. And just like we're a link in the chain. I am, you are, together we are everything, alone we are nothing. In my personal experience, like we are everything and nothing all at the same time. And I learned that in my ND, and that is my truth. And I love everybody. And I'm going to pass the talking stick and wish everyone a great night.
Awesome. Thank you, Lily. Are you off on, you heading out then? Is that, you got things you got to do?
I mean, I have a few more minutes. It's just I don't want to be up too late tonight. Yeah. I'm making cookies, so
that's important.
And my friend just found out she's pregnant. Yay.
Okay, cool, sweet. And yeah, I agree. I think again, like that idea of being able to make sure that we don't get caught in loops is something to be able to observe, but again, to be able to understand that like that loop, when kind of like perceived from perhaps a slightly different paradigm, is again like actually just like the spiral. So it's just kind of like, it's like, here comes the lesson, like, are you ready to get off the lesson? Like, not yet, but then like once you are, it kind of like whoop, and then it kind of like brings you up to the next spiral. Lise, did you draw a spiral? Is this, what are we looking at here?
It's like a merry-go-round sometimes.
Oh yeah, okay, literally drawing like a spiral there. So very cool. Sweet. Okay, so again, we're gonna kind of get close to wrapping up this broadcast in a bit. I just wanted, again, just kind of like mention real quick that I invite everybody here, if they feel called, to start focusing more on their dreams. start focusing more on your dream practice. And again, like for me, I definitely feel that like the dream practice is always a place where I can make improvement and I can make development. And sometimes it can be challenging because like it's like, oh, we've got so many things that we're doing all at the same time, and it's just like hard to put focus all on that. But like sometimes if we do, again, kind of put focus on the things that may challenge us in a healthy way, it actually creates more grace with like the other challenges that we're approaching. So I mean, even just to approach your dream space with that intention by like falling to sleep, be it with like that candle meditation or whatever, or again just making sure this isn't related to dreams but also bigger than dreams, creating that journaling process, journaling before going to sleep, journaling before waking up, writing down intentions, expressing gratitude, all those things. But yeah, I definitely feel that there's like reasons, like I there's like places within the dream space that require my presence, and in order for me to be present in them, it requires me like kind of doing XYZ to be able to like make sure that I can like show up. And then again, not just like kind of remember that message with my soul, which happens when we dream, but to be able to like bring it into this 3D reality by journaling it in the morning and perhaps even making a video log. So stay tuned, because I'd love to make some more like dream logs within the coming future, and even just me saying that is putting that out there to the universe. And then what's crazy is that the universe is just like, oh, okay, sweet, Brendon's gonna make a dream log, here, let's send them a cool dream with like a symbolic message in it, knowing that they might create a YouTube video out of it, and then somebody else will listen to it and get inspired, type thing. So again, sometimes the dreams we carry are more than just our own. For those of you who've been tuned into Paradigm Shift Central broadcast for a while, you know that we actually do have another broadcast like version within our broadcast referred to as Dream Class. We haven't had it in a while. It is something that I do plan to resume within 2020 as we again just kind of like focus on where we need to. But that's like a class where we literally just practice discussing dreaming and dream philosophy and dream practice and lucid dreaming and astral projection and all that cool stuff. So yeah, dreaming I think is a great way where again it's just kind of like encouraging us to just be like more mindful of how we approach sleep, making a habit of not checking our phones first thing in the morning, and you know, getting rid of our dream memory, creating that journal practice. And yeah, just like also for everybody here, clean your room, clean your goddamn room, goddammit. This is your mom speaking or whatever, right? So like straight up, like seriously, because and this is actually really important, because like you are your environment. Like sometimes we forget how literal this is, but you literally are your environment. So if you're just like, okay, I need to get my mind like clear and focused, and yet my room is messy and unorganized, then that's going to make it harder for your brain to be able to reflect that. But as soon as your space becomes a reflection of the intention for your mind, which is clear and organized, then it kind of like reinforces the two. So if you're just like literally at a point where you're just like, I don't know what my next step is, if your room's dirty, try cleaning it, and then just kind of like see how you feel. And again, as you kind of clean, you're also kind of like, you know, it can be like emotionally cleaning and kind of symbolically cleaning. And again, it kind of creates that space for like new messages to come through, for new like kind of like inspiration to be able to come through. And I think that's an important thing to remind ourselves. And again, kind of Lise and Lilly were kind of talking about this earlier, where it's like when we take that time to just kind of like sit in that space of like silence and reverence and everything like that, we're also kind of like opening up our antenna for the universe to be able to say like, okay, like here's your next mission, like here's your next objective, here's your next creative project. And so if our brain's constantly noisy and the signal's constantly like shooting off, it's hard to hear that message. But when we can clean our room, clean our mind, clean our space, then we get that ability to be able to like check in with our heart and ask ourselves like, what is the next move? What is the wisest move I can make here? And if we can kind of hold that space, then again, like the message will come through. And that in itself is a practice. But when we get good at kind of like clearing our space energetically and physically, it allows us to be like a clearer vessel for that higher conscious wisdom to be able to like move through us. And then at that point, you'll know what to do. And you might not know what to do every single time, but like you may find where suddenly like it's increased to like 90% where you're just like, okay, I know what I need to do here type thing. Cause you're kind of in tune with your, again, that inner voice, that intuition. All right, Neil, we'll pass it to you, and then we'll probably just go around the circle one more time. Again, just kind of talking on the topic of resilience. Anything that you'd like to share for the people listening here, tips and tricks to be able to help cultivate resilience within our life. Go ahead, Neil, when
Yes,
you're ready.
yes. So I've always felt that the human body in itself is really resilient. You know, like I know people who've been eating like crap for most of their life and just feel like crap, and then all of a sudden decide to make a shift in their life, and 2 weeks later they feel great, and then 6 months later they're completely transformed. So not only the human body is resilient, but our consciousness is resilient, especially with all the stimuli that we are confronted with every day in this world, the chaos, confusion. So much is happening, especially when you live in the industrial world. Just the fact that we get up every day and people still have a positive affirmation just shows that we're resilient people. um, Back when I first started getting into like consciousness and everything, like 15 years ago, up until maybe even 2 years ago, it would take me days to get over like arguments, like with my wife or with friends, or something happens or I felt judged. It would take me a long time to get over it. And I started, going deep into a bunch of modalities. And after hundreds of modalities, body techniques, meditation techniques, I finally started measuring how much my spiritual growth was. And this is how I basically measure my spiritual growth, and I feel it works very well. Is how quick I bounce back from being basically, you know, hit off my pedestal or whatever. Like if I've had if it took me 2 days before in order to bounce back from like being angry, upset after an argument, now it just takes me 1 hour. And that's kind of how I measure it. And some tools that I've been using, I've have you ever heard of Vipassana meditation, Brandon?
You can tell us, is that like
Okay.
literally like where it's like no talking for a bit? Is that
So
that
yeah,
one?
it's a completely free, and I like recommend this to everyone. Literally, dude, like 150 modalities plus physical things and everything. And I've come up with three things that have helped me. Plant medicines have helped me. Silent meditation retreats that's free, that you can either pay it forward. People pay $1,000, people pay zero, right? And they're all over the world. There's three in California alone where I'm at, and I've gone to five 10-day silent meditation retreats where you're literally meditating 9 hours a day. Women and men are separated to um, avoid distractions. You are following. It's so Buddhist that it's not Buddhist. You know what I mean? Like it's completely like Buddha's original technique, 100% no dogma associated to it. And I literally had a soul retrieval when I went. I spent 30 days last year in silence and meditation at these places. And on the sixth day of my last one, I literally saw myself as a child, and I, for the first time ever, felt love for myself. And I hugged myself, turned into a DNA spiral, and shot up into the sky. And then my amygdala literally stopped in that moment. And I had what was called amygdala hijacking. A lot of people do, where they're completely in anxiety all the time, because from age 0 to 6, they have some sort of fragmentation. Many people have sexual molestation, does it. Everything I ever did for my whole life was tainted by my sexual molestation. I would come up with conversations in my head before I even saw people, even before I went to Starbucks to order a coffee. I would map it all out. And not until last year did I have that moment where all of a sudden it stopped. And silent meditation really assisted with that. Plant medicine, I just came back from 4 days at Rhythmia just like last week. And that was my 11th psychedelic experience, and in a controlled environment with amazing shamans, plant medicine is great. But a tool where you don't have to go anywhere or spend money is your own voice. My wife and I are sound healing practitioners, and what I've been getting into lately is vocal toning. So you don't even need to. People don't realize that all instruments and all sound healing instruments were originally created to mimic what we were doing with the human voice. Our human voice was the original sound tool. So what I've been doing lately is chanting the chakra symbols 3 times each, going through all the chakras every morning while I'm hugging my wife. Right? We wake up in the morning, we like shake off the night, we like hold each other, and we put our hearts to each other, and we just chant every chakra symbol all the way. And then if anything comes up during the day, I just do it again. So that's a very simple thing that you can do if you look for chakra seed sounds. But if you, to make it even simpler for people, and if you don't want to have to like, oh, what was that sound again? Chant the vowels. Like the vowels, if you chant A, E, I, O, U, like I would have to go. I guess I'll give you a little synopsis, but vowels weren't used in ancient texts, and they were all silent in ancient Egypt, ancient Sumeria. They did not use vowels in their language. The reason why is vowels were very sacred sounds that were only used in spiritual practices. When we started falling from the higher dimensions into the lower dimensions, vowels were implemented into language because they were trying to maintain that high vibration. Which is why, if you look at many traditions, their word for God will have a in it, which is ah, which is the heart chakra sound, which is supposed to connect you to God. So something that really helps a lot is if you like, before you're about to do public speaking, which is the number one fear in the world, even more than death, right? Before you're about to go to an interview, before you're going to talk to your parents about something that you need to confront them about, or even if your wife, if you just take a moment with yourself and you say the vowels A-E-I-O-U, you'll realize, like, deep breath in, A, all the way from your diaphragm, let it out. All of a sudden, you'll redirect the energy that's in your head, and you'll redirect it to one of your other brains, which is your heart or your gut. So you can do that. And then to add to that, just really quick, is the humming effect. You don't even need to open your mouth. You can just hum in your throat and resonate your chest cavity and do that for like 10 minutes. And all of a sudden you realize you don't even have thoughts in your head anymore. And you just feel like your heart is expanding. So those are some tools that I've been using. And even though I've known about this for like 10 years, I've only really done it for the last year because it takes a while to even like, start doing this stuff and figuring it out. But I'm doing it now and I feel great. My mind is more still than ever. I used to wake up with like a million thoughts in my brain, and sound has really helped me with that. And that's how I've become resilient, and I feel a lot of people can benefit from it.
That's awesome, Neil. Thank you so much. And again, absolutely, like, just being able to have this discussion is, again, just us becoming like more aware of the natural tools that we already have within our disposal. Like, the body is literally existing to be able to go through these challenges. You would think there would be mechanisms built into our very being to be able to help us cope with them, right? Like, so again, I think in a lot of cases, people go through challenges, and the reaction to it is often kind of like sparked by the idea that, like, oh no, I don't have any control over the situation, or I don't have any ability to be able to, like, kind of like, reconcile my reaction to it, or again, like, this is just something, and then we kind of get, and then we create this story, and then it just kind of builds up, and it runs, and it creates a mind of its own, and it just kind of creates this whole momentum that's like eventually sometimes like outside of our immediate control. But when we can kind of like begin to even notice things before they kind of get to that point, and like Neil was saying, do something as simple as, again, meditation, mantras, sound exercises, like affirmation mantras as well, like that would be a great thing, just for other people to keep in mind of, to be able to serve them too. Another thing I'll just mention, and then we'll go around the circle just one more time, just kind of like any closing thoughts that people want to be able to have. Another thing that I encourage people to be able to do, if you haven't done this already, excuse me, let me just get a little water on my throat. Excuse me. Another thing that you can do if you haven't already, I like using jewelry and items as a way to be able to help anchor back into intentions and ideas, and kind of like reminding yourself of like perhaps a purpose that's really important to our heart. So say, for example, for myself, this is a ring that I recently started wearing again, that I actually bought like almost like 10 years ago. And this ring for me serves a very simple but symbolic purpose, where you can see there's kind of like a middle band, and then there's like two bands on each side. To me, this symbolic ring is, again, kind of like a symbol where like the middle band is kind of like my own being, and then the bands on the side are kind of like my like parents, and then like their parents. So it's kind of like a lineage of ancestors. And basically it also like basically represents like every person that I love. So I've kind of like encoded this story into this ring. And then for me, literally just like the act of putting it on during the morning or whenever I go out and about is, again, kind of just like another way to be able to like remind myself and be like, okay, like, what is my purpose? Like, what am I here to do? And things like that. And so that's where, again, like things such as like necklaces and crystals, you can use those where, again, you associate an idea with them. And then when you bring that that item into your perception, it kind of like runs the program of the encoded intention that you have associated with it. So say, for example, you might have like a little crystal. So say, for example, like here's here's a nice like round quartz crystal or something like that. Like this one's just sitting here. This isn't one that I have spent time actually holding this one. But again, you know, like say for example, if you have a quartz crystal, let's say that this quartz crystal is something that is like here to just be able to like help you feel calm, or help you kind of like remind yourself of your ability to like breathe through whatever it is that you need to breathe through in that moment. So again, it's kind of like, it's a totem where it's like you might kind of be like thinking, be like, okay, oh man, like today's been a little stressful. Oh right, okay, the stone, right? Oh, what does the stone remind me of? Oh right, okay, my power to be able to bring myself back to calmness. And then so it gives you that initiation to kind of like run that program, to run that exercise, just as a little bit of a reminder. But again, it's the object in itself is a catalyst to be able to kind of like begin like the thought process that you associate with it as well. So yeah, you can encode crystals with different things. Again, something that's going to kind of like serve you in that moment, bring you back to a space, bring you back to a very important like point within your story. Yeah, whatever it is that works for you. I think it's okay to be able to get flexible and stuff like that. So yeah, again, in terms of resilience, other things I would just say, very simply put, that maybe we haven't mentioned yet, I'll just re-say it because we did just briefly mention it. Doing little things like taking cold showers is incredibly valuable, where you start your shower warm and then you end it cold, and you try and stay in that coldness for at least like a minute, 2 minutes if you can, 5 minutes if you're feeling extra familiar with it, where again, you're in that space and you're practicing breathing. Instead of being like, you want to be able to be like, and you breathe with your entire body in the midst of the discomfort. Yet this process of doing this is basically like changing the way that your body responds to discomfort. So in the same way, you're just like, oh, okay, this is my ability to kind of like get through a cold shower, and then anything else that may approach you through that day, such as a little person saying something that may like, you know, like poke your ego or something like that, or it's a little challenge that came up unexpectedly, you're able to meet that with a different mindset, with a different way to be able to just be like, oh no, this is uncomfortable, run away. Where instead of like, okay, what do we do when there's discomfort? We bravely step into it while carrying something such as our breath, while carrying something that's going to help us move through it. And yeah, it still will be challenging, but it will allow us to kind of be like way more present, way more able to kind of like deal with it sooner rather than later. And again, to be able to kind of like send out this message to the universe that like through doing this, it actually, through intentionally creating healthy stress within your life, it actually, this is kind of more theoretical, it actually like lessens the random stress that pops up. And so basically what I mean by this is that like if you're doing things like taking cold showers, you know, like meditating, waking up in the morning and going for a walk, exercising, lifting weights or whatever, or something like that, dance, you know, doing things that kind of like maybe a little bit of time, a little bit of a like something that would be like, you know, your ego might try and tell you that it's not worth your time. Any of those things, the more you do those, the less you will find random stuff happening to you that is completely kind of like out of the blue. It's like, because again, it's almost as if like every month the universe is like, oh, okay, you have a certain amount of challenges in your quota that are going to come to you. And so if you've already kind of like filled some of that quota with challenges you've created for yourself, then it creates less opportunity for the universe to just be like, oh, here's a flat tire. Oh, here's some drama from something in your past. Oh, here's like, you know, like a random like letter from like some sort of thing that says you have to do something. I don't know, whatever it is, right? So it's like, it's kind of this holographic thing where avoiding challenge creates more challenge. Embracing challenge creates less challenge, like in a way, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's a very interesting way to be able to kind of like become more in tune with just kind of the dynamics of how this reality learns and teaches. And you can kind of make the choice. How do you want to learn? Maybe you want the surprises of unexpected circumstances. Or again, maybe you can be like, I'm going to teach myself how to be resilient. And then when the challenges come, I'm going to use that as a practice to be able to demonstrate my resilience within that moment. And yes, it will still be challenging, but I'm going to extract more from the lesson. I'm going to prove to myself, and I'm also going to serve as an example and invite others to be able to do the same. And again, ultimately, that's a big part of why we're here today, is to just be able to have conversations. And then everybody who listens to this might just be like, okay, sweet. All right, I'm not the only one doing this. Let's all do this together. The only other thing I was just going to say real quick, and then we'll get into, again, just one more pass around the circle. is yeah, again, even in the midst of challenges, Lilly kind of talked about this, to kind of keep your eyes open for omens and synchronicities, something that might just kind of like give you that little bit of like a reaffirmation within your heart space, where this was something that happened to me today, where again, there's just like challenges were happening earlier in the week, and there was stuff, and I was like not very like, I wasn't happy about it, but I was dealing with it. And then my attitude kind of got like more focused as time went on, and I kind of shifted into this space. And then like literally kind of like as I was like, okay, like, all right, I know what I need to do. I did what I needed to do. Now I'm where I need to be in order to be able to get to where I'm going. And then like literally like within like kind of the moment of me stepping into that, like I received, like I opened up my phone and it was like 11:11 on my phone. And I don't always see 11:11. Like it's not, it's kind of one of those things where it's like the universe almost reserves it for special occasions for me. So in that moment, it was kind of like, okay, like I see what you're saying, universe. Like all that stuff that like happened earlier in the week, that was again just kind of like not something that I even had full control over, but it did happen, is again just kind of like reaffirming me that like, hey, this is happening for a reason. And keep dropping into that trust, and allow that trust to be like a bit of a beacon for you to be able to like excel into the mystery of the unknown. We as humans, we leech off certainty, but part of the lessons that we have to be able to excel through is being able to move forward with optimism in spite of certainty, if there is lack of certainty, and yet still invite yourself to be able to like feel that which is, you know, perhaps like longing within your heart. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, you're working towards something and you're not really sure how it's going to happen, but you know it's really important to you. Embrace the fact that you don't fully know what will be like, what will manifest. It's kind of like this idea that like, you know, like if you love something, let it go, let go of the expectation of how something will arrive, hold it within your heart, and then when you let go of that expectation, it will arrive in ways you might have never expected. And so again, I think the universe is a very, very powerful holographic teacher, and just by us having this conversation, and again, it's helping us become more aware of the dynamics of how it works, and the input that we put into it, and then how that creates the output of the lessons and the growth, and how that helps us move forward. So let's keep passing talking stick around the circle. Let's go around literally just kind of like one more time, and we can kind of like wrap up with like any gratitude you'd like to express as well. So Kris, did you want to go next, since you kind of like went around first the last time, if that's cool with you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I actually did want to just like, I guess, like comment on like so just to go off of what you were saying before, like, you know, you literally just said the word like beacon, you know, when you were talking about like your synchronicity like kind of experiences. And like that word in of itself is like a synchronicity for me, because like, you know, that's where like I started my first yoga membership at this place called Beacon Yoga by me. But it's like, you know, all the time, like when I'm driving, I'll just go past all these streets that are, you know, named like Beacon. And, you know, it's always calling me back to that place of like centeredness, to just like, you know, reminding me to be the beacon of light, you know, to be that like, you know, beacon of support, and to be that shining example for, you know, myself and for others ultimately, and stuff like that. And yeah, I just wanted to like say that, because I thought it was like, you know, cool synchronicity that has helped me to kind of to remind me to you know, that I'm on the right path, or that, you know, like to remind me that, you know, like that I am that light, you know, ultimately. And you know, it can be serve as a reminder for us all, you know, ultimately. But I think we all have our own, you know, unique ones that serve to remind us and to alert us that, you know, like we're on the right path. And you know, it is always specific to us, because that is kind of like synchronicity, is the universe's like tailored way of communicating to us, like, you know, through our own significant life experiences and things that have been meaningful to us. Like, you know, it's ultimately the universe's way of like, you know, throwing this meaning upon something and shining light upon a situation, and being like, oh, this means something to you, you know, like this is going to mean something to you ultimately, so pay attention. And you know, like it's like just kind of reminding us too that our focus, and you know, like Carl Jung, who coined the term synchronicity, you know, he said that synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have the eyes to see, you know, and the ears to listen. So it's something that's not this thing that's happening like only sometimes, but it's really like if we're tuned in and we are aligned, like then we're going to keep getting those messages and the affirmations that we are on the right path, because ultimately the universe wants to help us. So when we are like, kind of in alignment and we're doing things that are like aligned with our highest good, then the universe is going to tell us like that and remind us. So the last thing I wanted to say, because I'm not going to try to talk way too much longer, was just like, to go back to the idea of resilience. And one of the practices that I found to help build resilience with myself, like another one that I don't think we mentioned, was in this like chat specifically, was, just like I do like I try to do like a Kundalini yoga practice, and I've been doing that like every morning. And sometimes I fall off of that and I'm not doing it all the time, but like different kriyas and stuff like that for elevation and for just raising our vibration and stuff. So like the one that I did this morning was actually called Ego Eradicator, and it was literally kind of about like like not allowing that ego to get in the way of continuing of allowing you to complete the whole stretch sequence or whatever type of exercise that you're doing. So a lot of the different kriyas will be like one of them is like holding your hands like in the air, like with like your fingers like this, and then like just breathing and finding that one thing that can anchor us through it. And you're like, our breath, like it's this thing that we're doing all the time, like we're breathing all the time. So that's why like those practices I think are so powerful, is because it's allowing us to find our anchor or our stability through something that we're doing all the time, instead of attaching onto something that is like different than what is already within us. Like our breath, like if we are like finding stability through our breath versus finding stability through something external, it's not that those things that are external can't help us ultimately, but sometimes they're going to serve as a crutch, when really like the ultimate thing that's going to help us get through a lot of situations and that can be there for us all the time, we can remind ourselves, is our breath. So ultimately, like coming back to our breath is such a powerful thing, because it's something that we can do anytime, any place, like anywhere. We can come back to that point of being aware. And yeah, that's pretty much what I had to share.
Awesome. Thank you, Kris.
And that all rhymed.
Just happens these days, so it's hard not to. All right, cool. All right, okay, we'll keep passing the talking stick around. Again, just making use of the time that we have left here. Lise or Lilly, one of you want to go next? Go ahead. Lise, go ahead. Yeah. Just check your mute.
Hi. Kris, the whole time you were talking, my mouse was actually like basically right in front of, like, it was like where your third eye is. So I was getting this like amazing visual, and you were speaking so eloquently, and there was just this like little arrowhead like right where your third eye was. Yeah. What all of what you said is resonating. And actually I just wanted to quickly mention like the value of this space and this energy circle, because yeah, like Lilly, you said something earlier on about like, oh yeah, I feel like today so much more prepared for a share. And I think, yeah, and Kris, obviously, like we only just kind of like linked in and kind of met each other last week as well. And like I'm like so excited, like just everybody is moving, just as soon as we start to share stories with each other, and then you kind of like you're in process, you're on some kind of journey, and you catch like a glimpse of it at some point along the way. And depending on how much somebody wants to share, I suppose. But then if you catch them at another point, it's really nice to sort of feel like, oh God, right, I need to run to like catch up to where they are, because they're already like steaming ahead. So it's really nice just already, like even though like just over a week or less has passed, kind of touching base with people again, and seeing that people have been showing up for themselves and doing their work. And yeah, like that is so valuable to like the wider community that we're kind of interacting with here. And like everybody's like individual lives and and all of the folk that they're kind of branching out new connections with in that context as well. Yeah, and I don't actually have much more to add this evening, but yeah, and just feeling like really grateful for this kind of space where it takes things grow arm and legs, and the conversation is kind of allowed to flow where it needs to go, and that goes just as much as it does for like who is here out of us, like leading members on the chat, and obviously Brendon's like holding that space and hosting for us. But like for those of you that are watching just now, like don't negate your role in this process, because like just having that connection, whether or not you're like on the comments and on the stream there, like just for us knowing that there are people tuning in as well, that contributes really to the whole like frequency of this like dialogue. And yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity. So anybody that feels like called to join us and play and have fun and explore and like get to chat to other creators and start thinking about like collaborating with other people, like definitely move on that, shift yourself out of like an uncomfortable like, do I deserve this? That's always a big one. Start saying yes to yourself more before you start saying yes to other people. And like somewhere like this is like a pretty good place to start. Like I said yes to this like just over a week ago, and since then I've been saying yes to myself a lot more, and lots of doors have been opening. So yeah, just get off the tipping point and jump in at the deep end.
That's awesome. Thank you again, Lise, for being here and for adding your energy. And I agree. Like again, like I think a big part of what helps us and build resilience is being around other people who are working on building resilience. And again, it's through this process of admitting that like, yeah, we're all students here, we're all learning together, and let's share tips, let's share again experience, let's share insight on things that work, on things that are like helping make it again, ultimately it's like you kind of want to get to this point where it's like you can visualize yourself like again, like in that place, going back to the beginning of this broadcast, like imagining yourself being in that place of power. And what if like you gave yourself permission to like tap into that at any point? So again, like that next time that like that challenge comes up, like give yourself permission to be able to be in that feeling in your body. And then again, like let that be what helps direct you through those next steps, instead of just kind of being like, oh no, like panic mode and like everything chaotic and stuff like that. Instead, give yourself that permission to know that you can always bring yourself back to that feeling of empowerment. And it takes a little bit of like programming, it takes a little bit of practice and things like that. But yeah, ultimately there's a choice that comes into this. And again, I think a big part of that choice is also making the choice to invest in yourself. And investing in yourself can sometimes literally be tuning into a broadcast like this and spending your time listening to other people sharing some wisdom and insight. Is there more information out there? Of course there is. So let this, if anything, just be like a little bit of a jump point to help you begin developing your own practices. Maybe take a few of the things that you learned about here today, learn from some other people, listen to some other cool podcasts and things like that. Find a routine that works for you, and then yeah, come back to the community, share, and be a part of the ongoing conversation. And that's the story that we are creating together, is that like let our courage be your shared courage. Let the strength of the wolf be the strength of the pack, and the strength of the pack is the strength of the wolf. So we'll pass it around to, I guess, Lilly. You're still here. Okay, cool. We'll pass it to Lilly. I'm not sure if we'll hear from Neil before we wrap this up, but either way, we're going to get close to finishing this off within the next little minute. So Lilly, go ahead.
Okay. My mind has been like, I just keep hearing things mentioned and, synchronicities. It's like, oh, I could have said that. Oh, yeah. But like, I don't want to be redundant in this. So, in what I say, and I think that everyone explained it so eloquently that I don't need to rehash anything, but something that like I started thinking about, I started focusing on the energy of people watching. And I just feel all this like eagerness and like hopefulness and I want you guys to know that feeling is real, that this is possible, like even just showing up, like you don't have to be a leading member tonight if you don't want to, but like just being here, showing up, something called you, something brought you here. And it's just about listening to that little voice more and drowning out things that are not for your greater good. So like if there are thoughts, like, just observe them and like don't like exclude the darkness. It's like radical acceptance, and that comes with time. But one thing I think that might have got skipped over, or at least in my opinion, I didn't hear it. So in my perspective, I mean, I didn't hear it. Positive affirmations, starting your day with gratitude, being thankful for the breath, which is to me my umbilical cord, to what connects me to this dimension. Okay, so like just starting, being grateful for the breath I have in my lungs, just starting there. And positive affirmations, we can be our worst enemy or our number one fan. I like to be people's like spiritual cheerleader until they can be their own number one fan. So that's a way that we can help other people, don't like that's what this circle is for. And I just want to thank everybody that's participating, and that just there's no one left to thank because everyone's participating.
Awesome. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you again, Lily. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, just adding everybody's insight into the circle is exactly why we're here. And again, out of this, we just get this, it's just this, again, just this like this very like heartfelt message for everybody who's tuned into this. And thank you everyone here for being a part of the practice. What I was going to say, just kind of thinking something came up as Lily was talking there, and I'll just add it real quick, is that within your ability to be able to develop resilience, I also want to remind you that again, you can choose, you need to use discernment based on what things are going to be things that you give your attention to and other things that you choose to say no to. And in the process of saying no to some things, you're also saying yes to other things, such as your focus. And I'll give you a specific example with this because I'm sure this is something that we can all relate to. Say you're like really kind of like focused, like you're crafting yourself, you know who you are, you're working on like getting your stuff done and everything like that. And then like somebody kind of like comes out of the blue and maybe they might like kind of like say something that may almost come off as offensive, or they might be like, oh, you're a false prophet or something like that, or something where they're just trying to like, they're trying to push your buttons, or maybe they literally have this like this false notion of who you are and everything like that. You need to be able to make the choice to be able to decide whether or not that's going to actually even be worth your energy to even like respond to it. Like your response to it could literally just be like, okay, I see that, and just put it over there, and I'm keeping focus. Because as you get more and more like in line with what it is that you're working on, there's gonna be these little tests that are gonna pop up, and they're gonna come through people. They may even come through friends, where people are gonna be like, oh, like, are you sure this is who you are? Are you sure this is what you should be doing? I don't think you should be doing this. I don't agree with what you're doing, and things like that. Again, play it by ear. Feel it out. There's going to be things where it's just like, okay, this is valid feedback and I'm going to take it to heart. You don't want to get into this mindset where it's literally just spiritual bypassing and you're just ignoring all the negative things, quote unquote. But at the same time, there are going to be people out there and circumstances that are literally just like something where you have to sort of reflect and be like, okay, if I respond to this message, is it going to serve me? maybe, and if it doesn't, like, get good at deciding whether or not it does or it doesn't. Like, if you can kind of like, before you even respond to it, kind of like project into like the theoretical possibility of what that future may look like if you respond to it, and if it's worth it, decide that for yourself. But get good at knowing that just because it pops up doesn't mean you have to reply to it. Like, you need to, again, kind of be able to like set that force field or that transmutation field. And again, this is something that we've talked about in the previous broadcast, and I'll just explain this very, very simply. A lot of people have this image of like, okay, a psychic force field, and you imagine this thing where it's like negativity like bounces off of you and stuff like that. Instead, I encourage people to think of the field as being more of like a transmutation field. And so when the quote unquote negativity comes through you, it like moves through the field and it neutralizes it into just energy, just like basic, like, again, neutral energy, and then you receive it, and then that still serves you. So instead of like someone's negative comment being something that you feel you have to bounce off, instead let somebody's negative comment move through your field, neutralize into neutral energy, and then you receive that energy as an act of willpower to be able to say thanks but no thanks. I say no because I say yes to my focus, because I am so like dedicated to my focus and purpose right now that this is just like what I have to do. And maybe I'll reply later, but maybe I won't, and you can make that decision for yourself. Yeah, a lot of it is basically like, it's a process of like alchemy, like energetic alchemy in the moment. So that's a little thing that I wanted to just be able to encourage people to say, is that, again, by saying no to other things, you're saying yes to the things that are more important to you. So in today's crazy social media world where anybody can say anything, and notions get misconstrued, and some people might say this about this, allow it to, again, just kind of like, if you hear it, allow it to just be able to be like one of those things where you can just be like, oh, like, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone, but it doesn't hurt if you do, in the sense that it's just like, kind of like, if someone like says something where it's like, you're herpaderp or whatever, you know, like, they're just like, they're like making fun of you, right? Allow yourself to just be like, oh, like, I'll show you who I am. I'll show you who I am. And not that I even need to prove it to you, but I'll do it anyways. But I'm doing it for myself. So prove it to yourself. So let their words be fuel for your own inspiration, even if it feels like they might be trying to kick the pedestal from under you. And then maybe sometimes they will kick the pedestal from under you, and it won't be within your control. But then again, kind of like what Neil was talking about, that might be an invitation to get back up. And again, I think that's a great way of how we measure resilience, is in our ability to kind of like bounce back. Make sure you're feeling the feels. Make sure you're not just going through like spiritual bypassing and you're avoiding feelings and you're pretending that everything's love and light and things like that. Do the work, do the inner work, look at your stuff, deal with your stuff, deal with your shift, you know, like look into the shadow parts of who you are. But then again, spend that time, transmute it, keep focus on the future, keep forward, focus with optimism, know that it's there to serve you. And then again, just like moving through with that intention of being able to be understanding that this too shall help make me more of who I am, and then celebrating yourself and showing up with that. And make sure that you, I think another thing about resilience is make sure you reward yourself, you know, be like, damn, I was pretty freaking resilient this week. I'm going to reward myself with like a nice little treat, and whatever that treat may be for you, you can decide that. Cause again, it's one of those things where it's like, you don't want the elastic band to be like so tight all the time that eventually it like snaps and things like that. So it's like the breath. Your resilience in itself is literally something where it's like the softness between the challenges is so important. And again, we've already talked about this. So allow that softness to be something where you're not in this like constant hyper vigilant state where it's like, okay, I'm resilient. I got to be resilient. Okay, challenges, here they come. I got to be resilient. Your ability to be resilient is in your ability to practice softness between the periods where resilience is required, yet even the softness in itself is resilience training. So yes, balance of effort and ease, very much so, Kris. Okay, let's get close to wrapping up this broadcast. I'm not sure if Neil is actually here. Did Lise or Kris, did you guys want to add anything in real quick, or just any like super final closing thoughts? And unless anybody, or I guess Neil still is there. Neil, okay, well,
yes, sir.
Lise, let me just pass over to you because I saw you had your hand up there. Lise, I can't tell who you're pointing at. You're pointing to Kris.
No, let Neil go.
Let Neil go.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
We'll pass it to
I'm
Neil.
chilling, whatever. I'm here.
Okay, well, Neil, if we're just getting again kind of close to the final stages of the broadcast, one thing I was gonna say, if you did have any other insight, maybe I don't know, do you have any like poetry off the top of your head that kind of relates to resilience or something like that? Even if you want to like, you could make something up if you want or something. Like, I mean, we were jamming last broadcast.
Yeah, I do actually. I
want
do.
something. Yeah, okay, cool. So maybe let that be kind of like a bit of your message to end off with, and then we'll wrap up the broadcast literally in the next 5 minutes. So Neil, go ahead.
For sure. Well, I'll say at first is that, this year I've noticed that a lot of light workers and people on this mission to uplift consciousness have hit the road running. Like everybody's thinking 2020 vision. Let's go ahead and do this. The energy is increased for sure. Galactic alignments are happening, closing of karmic cycles are occurring, and there's actually data and science behind this. I'm just giving you like the summary of it. And this is the time we've been waiting for, guys. Like, it really is now. This chaos and confusion is all a part of the growing pains. The darkness needs to be expressed, and the only way the darkness can be expressed is by us really living it. And so even though it looks like there's chaos in the world, it's really something beautiful. We need to actually deal with these traumas collectively so that we can get to this world. And now this poem right here is called Road to Zion. In this world of calamity, with organized piety making fools drop to their knees, we be the free. People see right in front. Time for the peripheral, narrow-minded ignorance. Be the bigger man, I see the benevolence. The interdimensional energy of love holds my truth above other dimensions. I'm the anti-level vacuum being sucked down with the pull of a black hole. Recycling this universe that shows acceptance. Knows acceptance by accepting the predicament that I am in. With all the government makes me feel I do is all I do is a sin. Straight fear-mongering. So I write with a pen to show beginning to an end. Just know we chose to be here. Tear perceptions of fear. I remember Jah will be waiting there. It's time to believe in yourself, to forget monetary wealth, to concentrate on your health. I felt lost, stones pelt, body bloody, judgment by those who say they love me. But what does love mean within these lower frequencies of emotions, causing mental erosions? I'm frozen in a rapidly moving time, with holes in the heavens, flow of energy from realms of divine essence. These beings think that we're under their guide to receive lessons of ascension. No, the gods we show, the biblical portrayal of Jesus and pagan rituals, the deities who we worship and bow, ask for forgiveness, and how can we reach the kingdom of heaven? Away from ourselves, looking externally for personified God, indemnified soul of the old ancestry of the duality of friends and foes. Know this, the energy level will persist. There is no one world without singularity. Physical perceptions manifest in realms of spirituality. No order, pure anarchy to set all of humanity in 13 different third-dimensional planetary systems free. So follow me, and we'll transcend to the fourth density.
Yeah, beautiful, man. That's awesome.
You,
I think Lise was like just like kind of, she was just like, I was not expecting this. This was a pleasant surprise. Lise, I'd like to introduce you to Neil. He's
yeah, soul brother, feeling your
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
that was
you.
Awesome. Sweet. All right, Neil, any other closing thoughts on the theme of resilience real quick?
Dude, resilience is the way we're going to get into this new world. Everything is designed to keep pushing us down, but we got to keep going forward. It's just in human nature. So no matter what, the body's resilient. And as long as you're here on Earth, you can still keep moving forward. And that's what we're here to do.
Beautiful. Awesome. Yes, our victory is built into our very being. So yeah, we're here. Again, the challenges are literally like an extension of us. They are a part of us. Like, so it's as soon as we like start seeing them as like something separate, but instead start seeing them as something integral, then again it allows us to even kind of like shift into this place of like having like gratitude and compassion for those challenges. And again, it allows us just to be able to receive the lessons in a more heart-opening, mind-expanding way. So awesome. All right, I'd love to be able to wrap up this broadcast in the last couple minutes, but I'll just give everybody here a quick chance if there is anything else they want to be able to just like send as a message of inspiration for the people tuned into this broadcast. Please feel free to do that. Lise, Kris, any very just simple like closing thoughts, go ahead. Kris, go ahead.
I drew this heart being, like it's this dude with a bunch of hearts on his face, and then there's also this weird dude in the corner, that's just watching. I know that's like, yeah, I wanted to share that.
Fair enough. That's us, man. That's us right there. So cool.
Oh no, but also message, just like, like what Neil like just like like that beautiful expression, that was so awesome. It reminded me of my friend Pleiades. Like I was just at this wonderful event called Source Gathering that he held recently, you know, and it just reminded me of him, like, you know, getting up there and spitting bars and everything. I know that, like, you know, Brendon, like, you know, you connected with him at some point because I know you posted like his, like, some of his content on your page. But yeah, it's like, you know, it's such a small world too to be connecting with some of these people, to be connecting with some of these people that, you know, like, we just like see online, and, you know, we like what they're saying resonates with us, and then we kind of realize, like, wait, this person like lives like right next to me. And, you know, like, that's what's so beautiful, like, you know, like, about, I'm not trying to go off on too many tangents, but, you know, it's like what's so beautiful honestly about, like, you know, like this platform that you created, but really just, like, you know, the internet in general, like, you know, like this web of connections in which we can all, like, you know, share and, like, you know, connect with all these people that are, you know, near and far. And, like, you know, it's like, in some ways, you know, that's a negative, you know, that we're more connected than ever before. But, like, you know, it's really allowing this, all of these shifts to happen at such an accelerated rate, because, like, you know, when we share something, like, you know, on this like large platform where it can get to so many people at one time, you know, it's like, then it really just, like, you know, it that whole force in of itself is just, like, you know, like, causing this momentum to pick up. And, you know, I think that, you know, I feel collectively that, you know, like, I feel those collective waves and stuff like that people are making, because, like, it ultimately just, it's we're all rising together. And, you know, I just can really feel that energy, and I'm so grateful to, you know, be a part of that and to be part of the shift, you know, to be sharing, yeah, and with such beautiful people. So glad to be here, and grateful.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Kris. Very well said. And yeah, it will just be a matter of time until Pleiades, aka Derek, gets on air with us at some point. Like, he's already like in the process of like syncing up as a leading member and everything like that. He's just got a lot of other things that he's working on. But yeah, for everybody here, check out Pleiades. He spells it like Pleii ADES, if I spelled that right. There's like 3 I's. It's like Pleiades with 3 I's. So, but yeah, check out the Paradigm Shift Central Instagram page, and you'll be able to find him there as one of the featured creators on the page as well. But yeah, again, just one of the many creators who we got here. So awesome. Okay, sweet. Lise, any closing, like real quick closing thought for the people tune in? Message of inspiration for all the shifters out there?
Breathe, sink into earth and ground, tune into this new frequency that I have found, heart space open and abound, round, spinning through galaxies, infinity, and into the sound, the A-E-I-O-O, vowel sounds to move in, through, and out, and to a new destination where you can reach with effortlessness, no perspiration, catching this next breath with anticipation. Thank you for sharing in this space station.
The space station. It's exactly what it is. It is. No, it literally is. It's literally a spaceship when you think about it. We are in a ship and we are in space, therefore it's a spaceship. So cool. All right.
I like that.
That was good. Cool. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for being here. I'm not going to try and upstage anyone with some more Flowetry. I think we've had enough for today, but I just want to be able to send my blessings and my heart song to everybody here for being here and for sharing their magic and for sharing their art. So for everybody here in the comments, if you're watching this even in the future, please feel free to just leave your gratitude. Drop your comments in the chat. Let us know that you're tuned in. Let us know that you're inspired by this broadcast. If you enjoy this broadcast in general, just drop those 1111s in the chat. Just echo it back real quick to us. And again, be sure to connect with our leading members who we had on today's broadcast on their Instagrams. Is probably the best place in general to be able to connect with them, and through there you connect to their other channels as well. So again, you can connect with Lise at Truth Seeker Sounds on Instagram. You can connect with Lilly at Light Love Lives. You can connect with Kris at Kris Kulick, and you can connect with Neil at Portal to Ascension. And we posted all the links in the chat. And of course, you can connect with me at Instagram, Mystic Spider-Man, and the Paradigm Shift Central team Instagram page as well. So we'll be back here again for another Paradigm Shift Central Synergy Circle next week to be able to share in some more updates, and again, to kind of be able to hold space for that question of like, what is needed. And again, like, sometimes we go into this broadcast and it's only like literally just like within the day of where we kind of get ourselves open to, up to the idea of like, what is something that needs to be talked about right now as a community. And so I think this topic of resilience is definitely one that is here to be able to help serve our ongoing motivation and inspiration and momentum. And again, if anything, I would just remind us that this whole theme of resilience is parallel to the concept of momentum. And the more momentum you can create, the more you can begin to like really accelerate. And that's what we want to be able to do. So like, let's go through those lessons that we have on our soul plate, and instead of it taking, you know, like 6 months, let's like get that done in like, you know, like 6 weeks or something like that. Why not, right? And then again, the sooner we allow ourselves to be open to the accelerated rate at which we're learning those lessons, not in a way that's exhausting us, but in a way that's just like very graceful, then that's again just going to allow us to be open up to the even more important lessons that are still to come. So again, just inviting each of us to be able to like drop into that space of power, drop into, again, almost like feeling like Neo from the Matrix, where again, it's like you feel the code, you feel the source move through you, and you're just kind of like deflecting agents and being able to like keep your focus as the one as you continue to help awaken others within this shared dream. So thank you again, everyone, for being here. Thank you again to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed this broadcast, be sure to check out more at patreon.com/Brendon Colton. Sign up at the $11 level or higher to become a leading member within the community and join us here for future broadcasts. Subscribe to Paradigm Shift Radio on iTunes, and you can also check out more at paradigmshiftcentral.com and connect to our team Discord chat, which is linked into the info in YouTube as well. So thank you, everybody here, for being here, for carrying the shift with you, sending you so much love, and for all the leading members as well. Let's join in and send some more animal noises to all the people tuned into this. So go get that work done. Keep it shifty. All right. Thank you again, everyone. And as always, much love, peace, and wholeness. And we will see you in the future. Skull Babylon out. All right. Special thank you to Danny Leonardo, whose music is featured at the beginning and end of this broadcast. Be sure to check out more of their work in the link in the YouTube info below. Thank you, Danny.